Hey everyone, welcome to this live shortwave radio hangout. And feels weird. We had the tuning the bands yesterday, and we have another one today. So 2 days in a row. It just feels kind of a little weird, but gonna have to get used to it because every 2 weeks now we'll have two in a row. We'll have the tuning the bands that will always be followed the next day by this type of hangout. Also, next Friday, we'll have a hangout for the VHF UHF channel. So if you're not already there, it's official VHF UHF channel, but no L at the end. There was a problem when I actually displayed or took the name for the channel. So I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and we are having these hangouts every 2 weeks on Saturday evenings, 2100 hours Universal Time. We talk about radio. We talk about pretty much anything. Today we'll talk about software-defined radios. But, if we have other questions and other things to talk about, we'll, of course, talk about it during the show. It's not, just one thing. It's a lot of things together. So I want to say hi to everyone. Raz Surfer, PD1 PME, welcome. Stephen Cooper, welcome. Vaults, A440, Simon UK, PLF, Madboy, MBOT, Driver Films, Ranger 7, Roger AB8MQ, Simon UK, everybody. Nice to have you on board. Really cool. NEBR, Buster Brown, howdy. Welcome to the hangout. Dan McD, Dan from Syracuse is here. Nice to have you on board. Really, really is cool to have everybody there. So really nice. You know what? I've been quite surprised at the popularity of the hangouts lately. The Christmas hangout, as if it's not past, it's almost at 2,000 views. And the Tuning the Bands hangout from yesterday, as I checked about an hour ago, was at 1,400 views and then not even 24 hours, which is really cool. I think it's really nice to have so many views in a short amount of time. Also getting more and more places and platforms where I can actually advertise when I'm on, when I'm live, thanks to many platforms. And now I've got also received admin account on the swling.com website, so I can actually use the blogs. So this is going to help also, and it's really, really cool. So thank you, Thomas, from the shortwavelistening.com website. It's really, really nice. I think things are really, 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 really cool. Yeah, beer-wise, I'm having my regular fin du monde, which is the one I like. Nope, no wine tonight. Yesterday I had wine and had like 3 glasses of wine. Today I'm back at the beer, but not too much. My New Year's resolution is to lose 35 pounds because I'm overweight. So hopefully by the summer, at least, a good 20 pounds at least. Hopefully it's going to get better. So welcome to everyone. Western Mainer, Dave DX, everybody on board. VE7 011 SWL from Brian from Victoria, BC. Really nice to have everybody on board. Calvin, welcome to the hangout. Just join on the chat room. If you want to join, there's a chat room, which is swling.com/blog/chat-room. If you want to have advanced notifications of the hangout, you can also send me an email at officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. You say, hi, I want to be on the notifications list for hangouts, and I will add you. So every time that we have hangouts, about an hour before, in the morning, I send the first email just saying, hey, today there's a hangout at a specific time. And there's also a second email that is an hour before the hangout. In that email, I include the link to the video feed. I will also include the link to the chat room so everybody can join in. We got some great people there. Anton 7474, Luis, Drago, nice to have all of you on board. STLDX, welcome to the hangout. Happy New Year for those that actually Happy New Year for everybody that wasn't there yesterday. Really nice. Hey Ratchet, welcome to the hangout. We've got a lot of people in the chat room, and of course you can say hi on the email if you want. If you're a little shy, don't want to be in a chat room, you can send me a little hello, and any questions you have. Official shortwaveradio@gmail.com. Hello William Helms, welcome to the hangout via checking in via email. Nice to have you on board. Really cool to have all of you watching. So in a little bit of news here, we have more and more people mentioning that they've received the 2016 World Radio TV Handbook. So it's nice to see that it's being shipped everywhere. I'm buying mine. I'm buying mine for basically from Amazon Canada because it's dreadfully expensive. If I buy it direct, it costs me like 80 Canadian dollars, if not 90, which I find too expensive for a book. Through the United States Amazon, I could have it, but it would pretty much, with the Canadian dollar being really bad right now, Canadian dollar dropped a lot, so it's gonna be like 70 or 80 Canadian dollars from US also. The only place that's okay would be Amazon Canada. They've kind of told me they would be at around $50. But the problem with Amazon Canada is I placed an order. And usually they say, well, in a week or in, about 15 days or so on. Now, when I place the order, it says, well, we'll tell you when it's here. So basically, it seems complicated. So if I get it through Amazon Canada, I'll buy it. But you know what? I'm not going to buy it if I have to pay $70 or $80 for it. I'll be honest. It's a nice book, but I don't think spending $80 on the World Radio TV Handbook is necessarily. I'd rather buy different shortwave stuff together for $80 than just the World Radio TV Handbook. And it's a good resource, but the problem is with the internet today, you get so much information that it's less and less useful to have these books. I can understand why the World Radio TV Handbook, by the way, it could be the last version, but problem is with the internet and all, you get what you want. So a book is less and less useful. I would say it is useful for email address, for postal address, and some very intimate, very interesting details of everything about the stations. But still, it's dreadfully expensive to get it here. And yeah, Drago, I did that. I have pre-ordered, and no date at all yet, and no PLF. Well, you know what? I saw one on eBay, 2016 World Radio TV Handbook, and the guy wants like $200 for it. Crazy. I just don't even understand, and I don't really think he's going to sell it at that price. If I buy it direct to Driver Films, it's about 80 Canadian dollars. Way too much. Too expensive for a book. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna pay that. That's why I'd like to have a PDF or electronic version of it. Would be nice. We could have it immediately and wouldn't be as expensive. Peace Tackler, welcome to the hangout. How does Fin du Monde compare with, say, Molson price-wise? I'd say pretty close. Not really much more expensive than Molson, and I hate Molson and Labatt beer. They're kind of really bad. I don't like the taste. I don't like these beer. Never did like the taste of Labatt and Molson beer, basically. So, Fin du Monde, Calvin, as I just shown everybody. I'll show it again. Fin du Monde beer. By the way, a lot of people don't realize it, but this is the province of Quebec where I live. That's on the beer. This is the province of Quebec. So this actually, for those that don't know, was a very small brewery, and basically, a very small brewery that was created by a local artist, which is Robert Charlebois. And finally, they sold to Sleeman. So all the Unibrew, all the beers, all these, Fin du Monde, Maudit, and everything, Blanche de Chambly, they're all now, they're still brewed here, but in Quebec, but they are owned now by Sleeman. So really nice. So Calvin's got a glass of San Valentino wine. And Simon, UK, 31 pounds sterling in UK. 31 pounds sterling is about 60 Canadian dollars. And it plus shipping, which brings it to 70 or $80. So yeah, end of the world, Louis. It does mean end of the world. It's the end of the world. The reason why it gave it that name is because it's a very high percentage beer, 9%, which is stronger than most beers. Cookrick says 37.69 pounds on eBay plus 280 shipping. Well, that's like 40 pounds, so it's like 80 Canadian dollars. Very expensive. Canadian dollar is really bad. Yep, that label did say 9%. That's pretty strong stuff. Usually when I go through that at the end of a hangout, I can tell you I'm a little high from the alcohol, that's for sure. Steckler, 9%, that's not beer, that's sherry. They have, the highest one they have is 9.5%. And I don't like it because it kind of is too, it's too stingy. The taste is like too harsh. This one is much sweeter. It doesn't feel like a 9%. Usually 9% beer feel really rough, but this one, I can tell you. How many bottles of that I can get through in one go? I would say I'm a social drinker, and I'm a pretty regular drinker because I always have all sorts of events, and I go to this karaoke bar. I would say a big bottle like this, I'd be pretty drunk after 2 bottles like that, probably. And yeah, some of the strong beers taste horrible, that's for sure. What is the radio next to your tablet, Gilles? The radio next to my tablet here is the Grundig G5. This is an old friend of mine. I love this radio. It's one of the best shortwave radios ever made. And it is amazing on FM for those that do FM DXing also. Basically here I've got Grundig G5, PL380. I've got a PL680 here, PL680. I got 3 scanners there because I started to listen to the VHF UHF ranges because I'm now restarting the VHF UHF with the live shows and everything. And so I'm having a lot of fun. For those that wonder, the clock is set perfectly to UTC. You want to know when I'm live? Just look at the date and at the time in Universal Time there. A lot of people ask me all the time, why is that clock at that time and it's not set to Montreal? Because in shortwave radio, we use Universal Time. A lot of people don't know that. So when they come over and they look at the clock, they say, what is that? So, and I've got the Soft 66 running here on basically an old Core 2 machine. And here goes. I just set it to the North Atlantic aeronautical frequency of 13306 upper sideband. There was a lot of traffic earlier. So this is my software-defined radio that is on instead of my icon today. And that's because we're talking about software-defined radios. What's a software-defined radio? A software-defined radio basically is a radio that doesn't have controls. It is actually controlled by a computer program. So an example of software-defined radio, the cheapest software-defined radio you can get, something like this. This doesn't even cost $10. This will give you a range of about 25 megahertz up to a 1.5 gigahertz VHF UHF, which is pretty amazing, I can tell you that. Also, we will talk about those that have up converters. For example, what I have plugged here on my computer here is, I don't know if you can, I probably can't see it really, but it's here in the back. Let me just check it out here, guys. We can't really see it, but what I have in my hand here at the complete opposite, that's a soft 66 SDR. It's a small little radio. It has what we have called an up converter on it. So it adds basically what's in here, which is an RTL SDR dongle, and adds an up converter to it. So basically it's the same as this, but they've put it on another little circuit board that has an up converter and an HF receiver. So basically that adds shortwave, medium wave, long wave capability to VHF UHF. And these are very inexpensive. This one for VHF UHF, $10. The soft 66 RTL that you that's right there working on that computer right now is actually about $40. So really not expensive to start the hobby. So it's nice. Stephen Cooper says, watching with my girlfriend tonight on the main TV. Hope she enjoys the show. Wow. Is it a big screen? I don't know. I hate the thought of, you know, having my face in some like 60-inch TV in a living room for some reason. Basically, these are radios. You know, I get a lot of people that say, what's that? That's not a radio. It is a radio. I can tell you that. This is a radio. It's just a lot of people say, no, it's not, because you're using a computer. Some people also think that because we're on the computer, it uses the internet somehow. Yes, you can control software-defined radios over the internet, and we'll come to that a little later. But these are radios. There's an antenna input in here. The soft 66 I have there on that computer has two antenna inputs, one for shortwave, one for VHF UHF. They receive signals. They are radios. But the thing is, there's no controls, no display, no buttons. That's where the computer comes in. You install a piece of software. This is HDSDR, which is one of the software you can use. That's the one I use because I like it. I like the way it displays. But you know, there's other software. There's SDR console. There's SDR sharp. There's even software for Mac and like Android. If you have an Android tablet or phone, you can use what is SDR touch. There's a lot of software, and the software has all the controls. The software, you get all the buttons that you'd have on a radio like this. You get all the controls for the frequencies, and you have an added bonus that other radios don't have. It's a waterfall, and the waterfall gives you, and that's the beauty of an SDR, a certain amount of frequency range that you see at the same time. So you could be locked on a frequency, but the display will show you, oh, there's a signal and another frequency. So you can actually not only see it, you see something happening at other frequencies. Hey, oh, there's something happening there. Click on it and start listening. It's amazing because it opens a possibility of even viewing and listening to other signals that you're not aware of. Because when you use an ICOM receiver like this, you're tuned to a frequency, a specific frequency. But you don't know what's happening on either side of it. You don't know. There could be some interesting communications happening 2 megahertz up, but you don't know. Here, it's cool because you can see on each side up to about 2.4 megahertz. There are some more expensive models that you can see much, much wider what's happening on the bands. And so you have a look at what's happening on either side of the frequency you're listening to. And that's cool. That's really cool. Hey, Mute Zone, welcome to the Hangout. Nice to have you on board. Yep, I had a great Christmas with friends and family. It was an amazingly warm Christmas. I think we broke a record of all time here. It was plus 17 degrees. There were no snow. And then we had a big snowstorm 3 days later. That's Montreal for you. Hey, Bobby, welcome to the Hangout. Mbot, I'm going to talk about the SDR IRC chat in a few secs. Don't worry. So, hey, Bobby, could you put the SDR into a radio case and have a mini PC in there and control the software adjustments via RS-232 or a joystick port? Well, what you could do is simply have a very small PC. I've even seen SDR on a Raspberry Pi. So think about how small your setup could be using a Raspberry Pi. And you can also use, like SDR Touch. It's cool because you can actually have the very small Soft 66, a smartphone that you have SDR Touch, and you've got a portable setup to listen to a software-defined radio anywhere you want. And it's the touch screen of your phone for the controls. So there's all sorts of way of actually controlling it. Most of those are controlled via USB now. So basically what you'll have is you'll have a USB. This is how it's connected. It has a USB, mini USB, and it's connected on the USB port of my laptop. So basically, that's what it is. It's not a PCI card radio. It's really a little card, a little circuit board plugged in a USB. There exists these PCI card radios, the WIN radios. There were some, I don't know, they're still available today. But for those that had a desktop computer, there were these big shortwave VHF, UHF SDRs that you plug into a PCI slot in the computer. But today, with all the technology, most of them are now plugged through USB. And some of the higher end are even plugged in USB 3 ports, so they give you even more possibilities, basically. So that's for sure. And what do we have here? We have WKA began. Very limited space outside my house, basically a yard that's no more than 5 meters squared. Any suggestion on a good antenna for shortwave, such as a small available space? I know that a lot of people like the Wellbrook antenna, but I would try a lot of other things before spending so much money on an antenna, especially making sure that you enjoy the hobby enough to pay a lot of money for such an antenna. Because the Wellbrook, from what I hear, are good, but they're really expensive. Real expensive. P. Secular says, I have a WIN Radio Excalibur. The software has 3 tabs, like a tabbed browser, so you can quickly switch among frequencies, which can be in completely different bands. Yeah, you got these WIN radios that are amazing, and you can actually even have, the software record from all the different frequencies it's receiving, and basically listen to, 10 different broadcasts at the same time and save all of that in the computer. It's just amazing. As Bobby says, Waterfall revolutionized the SDR. Really cool. Yeah, the Waterfall is amazing. When you get hooked to the Waterfall, how it looks like, how it works, it is pretty amazing. You get used to this so much that basically once you're on a normal, regular radio, you're like, it's true. I can't see on either side of, the frequency to know what's there. So that's for sure. So there's a lot of different SDRs, that you can use. Some SDRs have more outputs have different outputs for all sorts of things that you want to do. There's the SDRs, like the ICOM little black boxes, which are quite expensive, but are also SDR receivers. There's also receivers. There's also receivers that are even standalone SDRs. There's some receivers that are basically SDRs in a radio box. So it's a software-defined radio, and actually you can have firmware updates and all sorts of things like that. So that's for sure. Wind radios are still available, but well, for PCI, $4,000 for a PCI card, that's really, really expensive. That's for sure. What kind of laptop do I have? Well, that's an old laptop. That's my old Toshiba Core 2 machine working on Windows 10. So I'm listening to the shortwave bands with the Soft 66 using basically an old. I dedicated this old computer to just listening to the Soft 66. The only thing that this computer does, it's dedicated for the software-defined radio, and it's dedicated at controlling my ICOM when I want to listen to satellites on VHF, UHF, stuff like that. It's not very powerful, but it works fine with software-defined. So what's cool with that, if you've got an old laptop or an old PC lying around, you can actually plug it in that old computer and dedicate it to software-defined receiver, basically. So, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know there was that also. Woodbox radio has a tuning knob that can connect to the PC via USB if you need something to turn the tune. That's cool. Nice to have that. And VE7011 SWL says he's got 2 Wellbrooks. Completely happy with both. For me, the high price has been worth it, especially if I think in terms of years of reliable use. I actually would like to have somebody close here that can actually show me those Wellbrook antennas. I'd like to try one for sure. And the thing is also about SDR receivers, what's cool is that you can start the hobby of radio listening with very inexpensive equipment. Yeah, you get, you'll have $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 radios for sure. But you know what? For $40, you listen to shortwave, VHF, UHF, and I can tell you, for $40, the listening to shortwave with this is extremely amazing. I can tell you that. So, Timothy Chaldry. Timothy says, even with Windows Vista, yep, works even with Windows XP. If you still have an old Windows XP machine, you'll be able to use a software-defined radio for sure. Just, get yourself one of those little devices. It's dreadfully inexpensive. When you think about it, you have a full radio for $30. The software on the computer is free. So nothing complicated here. Hey, Kimberly, K6YYL. Hello, Happy New Year to you and your family also. And DX, the cat, yes. Nice to have you from Southern California. And really, really cool to have you on board. Cool Guy 6, hey, welcome to the Hangout. And that's cool. MuteZone says, since using my SDR, I find it difficult to go back to my desktop receivers unless I go outdoor DXing. You know what? I've surprised myself that even though I've got this big ICOM radio here, I've been lately really, really listening much more. Well, not much more, but I would say 50-50 I surprised myself turning on the computer, and use the Soft 66, because especially when I want to listen to amateur radio stations, because you can tune the amateur band and look at the waterfall and just click where the stations are, which is so easy and so cool. On the icon, you tune around the amateur band, search for something. But here, you just look at the display. It's like, oh, there's a ham station here, there's a ham station there, and another one here. You just click, and you see them appear as they talk or not. So you don't, on a SDR, you don't miss a conversation, because if you tune around the icon and the station that's talking right now is the one you don't hear, then you'll think there's nothing on the frequency. But on the SDR, you'll see the off and on display in the waterfall of the one that you hear. So you can actually switch and click, which is really amazing, that's for sure. So that's for sure. V7011 says, my SDR is the only reason I still keep my old Windows 7 laptop. Yeah, it's a good use for an old computer, basically, because these don't demand that much on the computer. And as long as you got at least USB 2.0 ports, they work fine. And I mean, it's a good use for an older computer, that's for sure. Anton 7474, what antenna do I use on the SDR? For shortwave, I've got the 100 feet wire that is my backyard. And for VHF, UHF, I use my vertical mobile antenna that's on the metal shed in my backyard also. Gives me pretty amazing reception, and works amazingly well with these little SDRs. That's pretty cool. Hey Harry, welcome to the Hangout. Nice to have you on board. What do you have here? V7, if a laptop works well with the SDR and doesn't have much interference, a good laptop, no matter how old it is. Yeah, you know what? I actually even noticed that my old laptop actually generates less noise in the SDR than my Core i5 laptop that I use for the Hangouts. It seems that it generates much more noise, the new computer I got here. Ray, welcome to the Hangout. Nice to have you on board. And cannot find the chat room. Chat room. Yeah, the chat room is actually somebody posted it. It's swling.com/blog/chat-room. Thanks, Ray, for posting the chat room. Nice to have. And thanks to Driver Films also for posting the chat room and the Q&A on the Hangout. Nice to have everyone on board. If you want to also join us, if you're a little shy, don't want to join the chat room, you can send a little email, say hello via email, officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. So I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and once again, these are every 2 weeks on Saturday evenings on 2100 hours UTC. We also have every Friday, a Hangout at 2100 hours UTC, and it alternates. 1 week is a shortwave listening Hangout. That was yesterday. The other week, this coming Friday, is the brand new show, VHF, UHF listening, radio scanner, police scanner, call it what you want. We'll examine the fantastic world above 30 megahertz. What is there to listen, what the radios are, and so on. And you can even use a software-defined radio to listen to the higher frequencies. That's for sure. So really nice to have everybody on board. Bobby, does the SDR software tax the CPU, causing overeating issues? Very little. You see here when I look at HDSDR, it says my CPU by HDSDR is about 30%. And that's an old computer. So it doesn't take that much. And the computer doesn't, I would say it doesn't overeat much more than usual using that any software. There's also SDR Sharp, which is very, very popular software and has a lot of a lot of plugins that can add capabilities. You can use AMX5. You can use a MacBook Pro with the software-defined radios. For the software, I don't know. Anyone in the chat room using a Mac with an SDR? What software are you using on your Mac? Mute Zone. Best thing SDRs have over desktop receivers: decoding AMs and utilities in real time. Oh yeah, these are cool. And you can actually, run both software. You can actually, if you want to decode digital signals also, it's cool. Because you just, power up the SDR, power up your favorite, FLDG, and decode digital modes, stuff like that. Really cool also. A KG4 YTP, nice to have you on board. I like my SDR player. I don't have the HF, but I love VHF UHF. Yeah, these are great, basically. Discount antennas work good. Yeah, discounts are okay for VHF UHF. They're probably not the best, but they are pretty good antennas for VHF UHF. So, yeah, FLDG, you can also use multi-PSK, which is another good piece of software. The interface is horrible, but it's a good piece of software to decode a lot of digital modes, multi-PSK. So, Anton 7474, thanks, Jill. I'm receiving nothing now with the antenna that was with it. Yeah, you have to tweak a lot. You should receive something, even with that little thing. If there's a weather station like NOAA weather or anything on the VHF range, or if there's something of a frequency range, or even you can actually tune a local FM station on the FM band, you should receive something, even with that little thing. Make sure that it's set up right. Make sure that you've installed the driver correctly, because you have to install a special driver to have it working. I've posted videos on my channel on where to get it. You got the Zadig driver that you click, and it replaces the driver that Windows has. So that's very, very important to play with that. But you should have something. You should really have something, even with the crappy antenna that most dongles come with, though. Thanks, STE. So SDR Sharp, Cubic SDR, and GQRX work on Mac, and SDR console works in Wine on Mac too. So that's nice to know. Bobby, is the SDR and the software good enough to calibrate radios on frequency? You need a really, really, really good SDR for that, because most cheap SDRs like the Soft 66 drift. You can't really calibrate anything with that. You need to use something else to actually calibrate the SDR. But on a very high-end SDR, one that is expensive, you probably could. But you would need a dreadfully good, there's something called RF generators to calibrate receivers. And that's, the thing we use. What else do we have here? Anton 74, is that the small antenna that came with the RTL SDR? That is for DVB-T really, rather than shortwave. Yeah, of course, for shortwave, you'll need something else. You can't use a little antenna with for shortwave. For shortwave, you need, I've hooked up my long wire on it. Actually, a good test on shortwave, you can try and just plug in, 10 feet piece of wire, and you should at least hear on the shortwave bands the strong stations, that you can hear locally usually. For example, here, the Jesus stations that are very strong, I usually hear them well, even with a crappy antenna. So, but it needs to work. You also need, Anton, if it's shortwave, that's the problem, set up the up converter frequency. That's very important. On the soft 66 I got here, in the settings, you have to put the 50 megahertz offset. So you put, like you click SDR up converter, and you enter 50 million hertz because it's in hertz in the program to put the 50 megahertz offset. So depending on the SDR that you use, some of converters are 40 megahertz, 50 megahertz, 100, 120 megahertz. Depends on what you want to use. So that's for sure. Thanks, Jerwendy. Nice to have you on board. Really cool to have everybody. And make sure you got, Anton 7474. If it's for shortwave, make sure that you've got a good antenna. That's for sure. Will the SDR make noise as my radio makes noise with my laptop charger? The thing is, yes, there is some induced noise from the computer to the SDR. And since you're going to get the soft 66 that I have here, I can tell you that some computers are worse than other. What you'll need to do, and I've had some success with that, is buy yourself a USB cable that you'll dedicate for that. So I'm just going to check. I think I got it here. It's not this one, but I have a similar cable. So you get yourself a USB cable. I'm trying to find the one that I wanted to show and that I don't see at all. Anyways, you buy yourself a dedicated USB cable. You get yourself a Torrid core. I bought one for like 79 cents at the electronic shop. And what you'll want to do is maybe do 5 or 6 turns inside the core. It's actually, I've had some success in it, probably lowering noise by 20-30%, which is better than zero. And running off a laptop on battery, a lot less noise actually here. If you look, I don't know if I can just, well, you guys probably don't see it, but there are some zones with interference in my display. When I unplug the power cable from the laptop, you see that these zones disappear. That part of the noise comes from the power supply from the laptop. So yeah, there will be some noise. You have to tweak it, play with it, make sure that the antenna isn't close to the receiving. You'll need the SMA connectors and have a shielded cable as far as you can from the computer before you put the antenna. It's going to help you a lot. If the antenna is close to the computer, you're going to have a lot of noise, that's for sure. Anton 7474, what is it, the soft 66 that you have set up? And if so, check my shortwave channel. I've shown how to set it up in HD SDR, and I'm going to actually post a video tomorrow or Monday where to put the offset in SDR sharp, so that you'll know where you can put the offset when you want to listen to shortwave. It's very important. So V7011 Shortwave says, another one of the great things about SDR is being able to replay a station ID as many times as you want, in case you did not hear it clearly the first time. Yeah. One thing that I like about SDR Sharp that seems unavailable on HD SDR that I use here, it has RDS on the FM stations. So when you tune a music station or a station on the FM band, you have the RDS, the radio data system text that displays on the top of the waterfall in SDR Sharp, and it doesn't seem to have that in HD SDR, and that's something that I like though about SDR Sharp. That's for sure. What else do you have here? Jill, I don't think the SDR Play RSP would be considered expensive, yet it is a solid performer and it is not prone to drifting. Well, you know, expensive is very, very, very different from one person to the other. Okay, for me, $40 is very inexpensive. Spending $100 or $200 on an SDR is okay. Spending 700, 800, or 1,000 on an SDR starts to get expensive for me. It depends on everybody, and it depends on what you want to have also. I would probably like, a better performing SDR. There are things I want to. One that I would like to order maybe is use this one and order a Tabletop version 2, which is like $60, $50, or $60. I'd like to see how different it is from a Soft 66, for example. So that could be something nice to check for also. Well, Cool Guy 6 Jesus stations are the strongest stations on shortwave. If you don't hear nothing on shortwave, you can hear a Jesus station, I can tell you that. Seems they have a lot of power. PLF, have you tried or decode digital signal on shortwave VHF, UHF with SDR, Gilles? Yeah, I've decoded with FLDG on this computer. I've decoded many stations. Hey, it crashed. It never crashes, and I have to do a show for it to crash right in front of the camera. This is funny because it never crashes, and it crashed right here while I'm showing you guys. That's interesting. What else do we have here? Anybody else checking in? Just want to make sure I'm not missing out on anyone. No, everything's cool there. So yeah, I was decoding with FLDG. I decoded a lot of stuff, some radio teletype signals, lots of BPSK31, all sorts of signals. Works very, very well with the SDR PLF. Bobby, how effective was that shielded heavy-duty USB cable you used? I've tried about 7 or 8 different USB cables. And there's a lot of stuff that I did to try and have it working. And basically, it's a mix of a good cable with a little torrid cord that I made a few turns, and also choosing the computer that has the less noise for it. So that's pretty much what made it work pretty well. And of course, the shielded cable all the way outside helps a lot in having less noise, that's for sure. Anton74, is the cheaper DVB-T sticks, but I'll definitely watch the vids. Okay. Is it rated for shortwave? Because I can tell you one thing, most of those that are just the sticks and that are rated for shortwave don't work that well on shortwave from what I see. It's better the ones that have an up converter. So, but check the videos in case you maybe you missed out on something. And a good antenna, of course, will help a lot, that's for sure. Mutezone says, setting an SDR on a timer when not at home to record a part of the band has made me get catches which would not have been possible on traditional receivers. That's true. You can, automate the process of listening to pretty much everything on the SDR receivers. And that's the cool thing about SDR, is that everything is automated. Everything is really like computer. So that's for sure. So SDR Play RSP is retail price is $149. That's not bad. $149 is not that expensive for an SDR Play. I'd be interested to see that. Maybe eventually I'll get one, and we'll be able to compare the 150 SDR Play, the Soft 66. Soft 66 does drift a little at the beginning. It drifts maybe I'd say about 10, 15, more than that, 10 or 20 hertz. from start to being warm, but once it's warmed up, it's okay. I had the same experience I've had for those that've seen the video, the DX Patrol SDR. That one was more expensive. It was like what, close to $100 if I'm not mistaken. It was like $80 or $90. Um, Bad experience because it broke real fast. Um, Basically, it was cheaply made. After I made the videos, it didn't last more than a couple of weeks, and man, it stopped working. That's for sure. That's for sure. Bye, Anton. Take care. It was nice to have you on board. Rad Surfer, are there any new commercial shortwave stations coming on the air, or is that not likely anymore? Don't think there's going to be a lot of commercial stuff. Most commercial stuff came out of the US. I'm actually surprised at one thing. I'm surprised. I was extremely surprised when WRMI purchased the Okeechobee transmitter site from WIRFR, because I thought, man, this is going to be like a big operations. They have to make money with that. Of course, 40 of the available frequencies are used by Brother Stairs, so they are probably making money with that. But still, I can't really see much in the future of commercial shortwave stations. I think the only thing that could pop up in the future is enthusiasts that have a little bit of money and want to just have a low power shortwave broadcast on the air, something like that. Hey, Sunburn90, welcome to the Hangout. Nice to have you on board. South Wales, welcome. Is that a realistic Pro scanner on the top of the stack of 3 units on your shelf? I have an old one which has limited use now. Yeah, this is the Realistic Pro 2006 right here on the top, which has a display that I need to change because it doesn't light up anymore. But the LCD's there, and you see the numbers. It's just that there's no the blue display light doesn't work anymore. It's one of the problems with those. But yeah, this one with all the mods for the analog cell bands back then. I've had that for we're in 2016. I've had it 20 years, a little more than 20 years. Still works fine, basically. Like Shortwave Guest says, the only stations you'll see maybe more and more are pirates. That's possible. That's for sure. Yeah, don't worry, Bobby. Nobody seed what I typed in my login password. Don't worry. And it's a very difficult password to get and long. Even I forget it sometimes. VE7011 SWL. One cool thing that you can do with SDR is that I tried for the first time last night. Recorded the 49-meter band at home while I was at an electrically quiet site doing some live listening on the same band. When I got home, I played back the SDR recording and was able to compare the number of listenable signals at exactly the same time. Of course, that's pretty cool. That's another thing you can do with these SDR receivers, is the fact that you can actually record a whole band, say the 49-meter band. You can go to bed and say, hey, I'm going to record all night, 49-meter band. See what I can pick up during the night while I'm sleeping. Things that you'll be missing out because you're sleeping. You're not at the radio. So that's also very cool. Calvin, from what I know, the Soft 66 does work with the Raspberry Pi. Would it work with the Pi Zero? It is more limited. The Pi Zero is more limited. Can't really answer. It depends. Out of my knowledge, I'd say probably yeah, but hard to say yes, a real yes. Hey Neil, welcome to the Hangout. Commander Pleasure, welcome to the Hangout. Another guest, lots of guests. Welcome to the Hangouts, everyone. It's nice to have you on board, everybody. And it's really cool to have all of you there. Um, Lots of spectators tonight. It's really cool. And we've been having record numbers of viewers for the Hangouts, and it's really fun. Really having a lot of fun with that. Commander Pleasure, I used to own a Grundig Satellite 750 a few years ago. Noticed it has jacked up $100 in price. Is a Texan PL680 a functional equivalent? A Texan PL680 is probably as good as a Satellite 750. I can tell you that. I got it here, always close to me. I really, really love my PL680. I think it's one of the best. I think it's one of the best radios out there. That's for sure. That's true. Stephen Cooper says you need a converter for USB as it only has micro USB on the Pi Zero. That's true. But these are cheap. You can get them cheap, basically. Muzone says traditional desktop receivers will carry on going as the move to SDRs is the future, up in price. There's of course always going to be receivers like this, because one of the things about software-defined radios is that there's a technical aspect to it that, even though it's not super complex to set up the software-defined receivers, there's one thing that's for sure is that you need to be a minimum of computer inclined to have it working and setting it up, and you need to like to play on a computer a little bit. So I think for the average user, there's always going to be tabletops or a lot of portable receivers for shortwave, which are easier. But I'm saying that, but you know what? A receiver like this, when you want to really understand it, a receiver like this is complex to understand. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of things to understand. All the settings and all the different options you have in just this little radio. When I think about it, it's almost as complex as using an SDR. So, that's for sure. There's going to be less and less SDRs. Sorry, not SDRs. Tabletops receivers, because I don't think the tabletop market is very good anymore. The tabletop receiver is slowly going to die, and we'll probably have a flood of portable radios. Portable receivers, we have a lot. If I look in 2015, just look at the year 2015, the number of new radios that came out, especially from like Texan and Eton and so on. And everybody tells you, hey, shortwave is dead. Yet there's just so many new radios. It's interesting. There's like a contradiction here. But SDRs are going to be more popular, that's for sure. And the higher end desktops, like for amateur radio, look at all the nice, really cool, very expensive rigs that amateur radio have today that actually are SDRs. They're software-defined receivers, but the display is on the front of the radio. And it doesn't have just a frequency display. It has a computer screen. The radio has basically a computer screen with all the settings. These are amazing. So that's for sure. Bobby says desktop receivers will never die because I like knobs on my radio. Of course, this is, there's something about a receiver. I enjoy having an icon like this with all the knobs and the buttons, and it's cool. It's fun to have these radios also. So that's an interesting one, Harry. I wonder if Texan would try a tabletop receiver. That could be interesting. I don't know. That could be interesting. I would wonder, a tabletop receiver from Texan. That would be nice. That would be nice, for sure. So, yeah. What do I have here? Even in 2016, there is a new radio. Kato KA 108. Let's check that. Portable. Yeah, I've seen that little receiver. There's another one also from. There's a new Eton receiver also that I've seen um, pop up, and I actually was surprised to have it show up at a local Source store here. So, Mbot says my R75 outperforms the SDR play every time, but this SDR is darn close. You know, that's what I would say. Even the Soft 66, what I tell everyone is how amazing it is for the price. The ICOM has a little edge, a little something more. And I keep thinking, you know what? It's probably the fact that it's not plugged to a computer. So the ICOM has less noise, because even if you shield everything, there's probably just a little bit more noise in the SDR than there is in a tabletop that's, not plugged to a computer, basically. So yeah, the S2000 and the 750 are exactly the same radio, by the way. The S2000, actually, the 750 is the S2000 receiver. It is just rebranded, but it's the same radio. Yeah, that's what STE was mentioning, Red Surfer. It's that there's a add-on that you can put on the computer that gives you a knob to change the frequency of your SDR. Stephen Cooper mentioned it a little earlier. Yep, S2000 is a Texan. Actually, it's simply that Texan makes the Grundig 750. Texan makes the S2000. It happens quite a lot. There's a lot of receivers, that are branded Grundig or Ethon, but are Degen or Texan receivers. They are made by the Chinese manufacturer. It's just that the company is rebranded. They just put Grundig over it, and that's it. But basically, they are Texan radio. The 750 is a Texan radio. It's the same thing. I have these people pop up on my channel and say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. Grundig makes its own radio. Grundig doesn't exist anymore. Grundig is just a brand name. It is not existing anymore. It doesn't make radios anymore. It doesn't have a plant where they do radios. They take radios from another company and just put the Grundig sticker on it. So the 750 is an example. It's a Texan S2000, same radio. Driver Film says, well, let's see here. Sunburn 90, how much would you spend on a basic shortwave radio model? At least $100. You know what? If you're going to get into the hobby and you have the money for one radio and want to start the hobby right, $100 to $150 will give you a decent receiver. An example, the PL680. You got this. You really know if you're going to like shortwave or not, because you got a real good receiver here. And you start out right. A lot of people start with really cheap radios. Problem is, the cheap radios have limitations. And so basically, that's, the problem. You get discouraged because of the limitations of your receiver. That's for sure. Yep, that's it. Red Surfer STE is sharing the woodboxradio.com. Nice to have you. Nice to have that there. What do we have? If I ever miss your question, by the way, just repeat it, because with the chat room, sometimes I can miss something. What else do we have? MX5, how would my Sanjian 818 compare to my Grundig Yacht Boy 400 in technology and to my Drake SW8? I'm just going to check here for make sure that I check out the correct receiver here. Sanjian 818. Sanjian 818. Check it out here. Sanjian. One thing for sure, your DX390. Okay, it's a realistic DX390. You know what? It's mostly because it's mostly because as the technology advances, you get these new chips that do a lot of stuff and are amazingly, really amazing at making receivers. And basically, it's there's probably less parts in the newer radios than there are less parts than the older receivers, because there's the new chips today do more functionalities. That's probably electronically the difference between a older receiver and a newer one. You'll see less transistors and capacitors and stuff like that. You'll see one big chip that does it all with a little bit of parts around it. And that's the major difference. As for performance, you know what? I would say that today's receivers are pretty amazing, yet a good receiver from the 80s or 90s, well maintained, probably works almost as well as a good receiver today. And often, people that say I want a tabletop, don't want to spend a lot of money, get yourself a used one. Get yourself an ICOM R71, or get yourself like Jordan, a old Kenwood R1000. They're just amazing, and you'll have a great rig, and you won't spend $2,000 like on this, and you'll have a great rig. That's for sure. Remlap. Do the Texans have metal knobs like Grundig Etons? Remlap, you know what? Because it's the same radio, I would think it's the same. I would think they have the same thing. I don't think there's any difference, unless there really would be something that Grundig said, "Hey, we would like to have this different." But I would think it's the same. Sunbird says, I got a Grundig M400 radio. It's a portable radio. Yeah, and that's, as long as you receive what you want, and that's the important thing here. Actually, Sanjian is still making radios, that I know. It's not just a brand. Like the Sanjian 818, there's like a great example. The Sanjian 818 that we were mentioning is also branded, for people that will also remember this one, as a realistic DX390, which was a Radio Shack receiver. But I know that Sanjian is still making its own receivers, from what I know. They still have a plant. I actually have a Sanjian WFR20 internet radio, which is like $300, but man, it has amazing sound, and it's really cool to tune around. But I think Sanjian still makes its own radios, that from what I know. PLF, about Eaton, a brand name. Well, Eaton and Grundig, like Eaton bought Grundig, so that's why some Grundig receivers became Eaton radios. But Eaton is also a brand. It is usually a Texan, a Degen, or something like that is rebranded as a Eaton radio. They don't have a plant where they make radios. Commander Pleasure, Gilles, are QSL still worth attempting with shortwave stations? And as for as many stations that have shut down over the years, how many have cropped up? As for stations that shut down, pretty much everybody left and never came back. There are some that came back because they have a cheap way to do it. And an example is Radio Ukraine. They came back because they had a cheap way to come back via WRMI. Radio Slovakia, Radio Prague. When they left, they came back because there's a cheap way to come back. Once again, relay via WRMI. So some came back via relays, and that's interesting. I think, personally, if I would be the guy owning WRMI, I'd work really, really, really hard to get some of those that still have English language over the internet and say, look, it's very cheap to get on the air via our service. Why not do it? Radio France is now back to North America in English because of WRMI. That's interesting. These are nice. These are, really interesting broadcasts. But I don't know. It's, for QSLing, yeah, of course it's worth it. For those that haven't done so, I've got my just here. This is last hangout I was mentioning. We could have a calendar for from Voice of America. Here it is. It's on my wall right here. A nice unseen New York calendar. Very, very nice. So for those of you that haven't done so yet, just send a little email to calendars@voanews.com and you'll get a calendar. Very nice. And QSLs are still worth, yeah. I've sent a few reports. I've got, nice stuff. Just look at this. I was going to show you this. These are nice stuff. I got a Voice of Vietnam calendar. Look, I received a verification card from Voice of Vietnam. They sent me this nice little love card that actually opens as a 3D heart. These are really nice things that you can receive from shortwave stations. It's still worth it to write, not only to get stuff for QSL, but to also let them know that you are listening. They won't stay on the air if you don't write and let them know, hey, I'm listening to your broadcast and I enjoy your programs. And, that's very important. That's really important. But it is worth it. I can tell you that. Shortwave Loop, welcome to the hangout. Yachtboy 400p is a real battery eater, and 6 batteries. Yeah, get rechargeables. I bought these that are pretty amazing, by the way. If you guys ever want to, I was amazed. I didn't know they had that brand. Amazon branded batteries, rechargeable batteries. And they were really cheap, $30 for 16 rechargeables. And I'm really happy. I've been using them on all of my receivers. They all have the Amazon rechargeables in here. But, in receivers and radios, rechargeable batteries is the way to go. Alkaline batteries and all drain and cost a lot of money and, pretty bad for the environment too. So I was surprised. I didn't know that Amazon had Amazon branded batteries. But these are good, and they're 2,000 milliamp hour, and they arrive pre-charged. So when you order the batteries, they are already charged. You can already use them immediately as you get them, which is pretty cool also. And these receivers all charge via the radio, so I just charge them via the radio. That's for sure. So Grunding went under because of failed tabletop market. Grunding went under because Grunding went under. Grunding was not just a shortwave radio maker. It was a major German manufacturer of all sorts of consumer products. But as pretty much all economy in the world, the electronics and consumer market is just so difficult that they probably couldn't continue working, and they shut down everything. But they sold the brand. Grundig was sold, the name Grundig was sold because Grundig was a known quality brand. Everything that from Grundig was good. And they got money for the name because people knew, oh, Grundig, that's good. I'm going to buy it. That's a Grundig radio. Even if it's a Chinese radio, just the fact that it's branded Grundig Go to a store. Say you put in the display Texan and Grundig and have basically pretty much the same radio. I can tell you a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, I'm going to buy the Grundig. It's better. It is the same radio." But the name has something, it's like Duracell batteries. Everybody knows Duracell batteries are just good. The brand is there, there's something about the brand. So basically, Grundig consumer products disappeared and the brand was sold. And it's just put on Chinese radios, basically, and Chinese stuff. That's for sure. What do you have here? Just gonna follow the chat room. If I'm a little behind, don't worry, guys. I'm getting through the different comments of everybody. What else do we have here? Red Surfer says, I have a Yacht Boy 400p telescopic antenna is slightly messed up. Someone make offer for it. I don't know. Oh yeah, for sure. It's like everything here. I've got some tube radios, old tube radios. That in the back it's cool. It says "Made in Canada." Well, once radios were made in Canada, but you know what? Germany, Canada, United States, we all have the same problem. We have workers that cost a lot of money compared to China. That's why China is the world's manufacturer now. Cheap labor, cheap parts, cheap everything. So that's why you get a Grundig that's $120. That's so amazing. And that in 1980, such a radio would have cost like $600 or $700. That's the way things work. But, companies will drop down for that. ADPM, welcome to the Hangout. Oh, I didn't know that, but it's possible. It is possible. Sanjian made the CC radio before C-Crane radio. That is possible. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. Sanjian receivers are actually good radios. I had, in the 90s, I had many Sanjian receivers that I would buy. There was a lot of Sanjian shortwave radios from the late 80s to through the 90s. And most of them were pretty good. Sanjian receivers are good in general. Like all manufacturers, they make crappy stuff, Texan has crappy radios. Degen has crappy radios, but also has good radios. That's for sure. Muzone says, I could have had an old Grundig desktop a few years ago on the cheap as someone local was selling one. Sort of regret not getting it. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes it's you see these things and you just don't jump on the occasion. I regret one thing. I went to downtown in when was it? I'd say about 1996, 95. I was at a Radio Shack store downtown, and they had one realistic DX394, the last tabletop receiver Radio Shack ever made. And it was like $79 or something like that. I was just a little strapped on cash, and I didn't buy it. But today I'm thinking, man, you should have got it. $79. That was just a bargain at that price. So Sanjian is a manufacturer in Taiwan that makes radios under its own brand and for other brands. Yep, it's a Taiwanese manufacturer. NBR, Buster Brown, Kenwood is a Japanese company, and I know that most of what they do is still made in Japan. I'm not aware of anything they do of American made. Kenwood is Japanese. I had a Kenwood R5000 that was amazing, and that is now at a friend's house. Rooftopper, welcome to the Hangout. Um, I have an original Yacht Boy 400 in service daily as a radio alarm since 1993. At the time, it was my go-to field radio on trips. Good BFO on SSB. Uh, doesn't owe me a cent. Um, well, you know what? Basically, a lot of the Yacht Boys. I had a. What was the one I had? Was it the 400? Just trying to remember. The one I had was a Grundig. What was it? The Grundig. I'm gonna try to find it. The one I owned for a while was a Grundig Yacht Boy. Grundig is the one that I had. Grundig Yacht Boy. Was it the 400? Just check what this is. Oh yeah, that's what I had. Okay, I replaced it now. The Grundig Yacht Boy 400. That's what I had. I had that receiver in the 90s for a long time. It was a good radio, and I bought a Radio Shack DX398, which is the Sangean ATS 909, same radio. And my uncle, which was an electronics repair, looked at my Yacht Boy one evening and said, "Wow, that's a nice radio." And I said, "Well, look, you want the radio? You know, make an offer." And he gave me something like $75 or something like that, you know. And I said, "Yeah, sure, here, take it." And it was a very nice radio. I really enjoyed my Yacht Boy 400 back then. So MX5, is that Canadian guy still doing the Caribbean weather stuff that I used to listen to in the late 90s? Lol. I'm not sure what Canadian guy you're talking about, but I need more details. Trying to think of a Canadian guy. The only Canadian guy I remember that gave the weather that was weird is in the 70s. There was this guy making a weather report, and it was so weird, and it was called "The Color of the Sky" in French, like "La couleur du temps," or "Color of the Weather," or whatever. Was, anyways, not worth losing 10 minutes. Hey Jordan, welcome to the hangout. Nice to have you on board. So Buster Brown, nope, Kenwood is not made in US at all. It's made in Japan. And I'm actually surprised they still make stuff in Japan. They probably even have a plant in China. And if you want to buy American, well, I'm sorry to say you won't get any radios because there's none made. The last receiver that I know was made in US, real US, is the Drake R8 receiver. That was a US made radio. The last one that was made, from what I know. How is it? Bobby says, how is it that WRMI is getting all these relays and WBCQ isn't? You know what? I think they have simply someone that, is working hard to get these stations on the air. I think there's someone at WRMI that understands, okay, if we want to survive shortwave, we got to go get these relays. We got to go get the maximum number of people on the air that can pay for transmitter airtime. And WBCQ just didn't do that. It's like, think of those stations as, companies. Basically, some companies are better than others at marketing and doing stuff. So WRMI, I can imagine WRMI, when they got the Okeechobee transmitter site, they probably said, okay, we got this big transmitter site now. You got to think also that WRMI is now the only US broadcaster that has enough transmitters and antennas to be on 30 different frequencies at the same time. WBCQ has 3 frequencies, 3, yeah, and has local stuff in pretty much most of the airtime is already used, except for a few spots. WRMI has a better position also on frequencies. Because of all the transmitters from WRFI, they can use any meter band and transmit anywhere they want. So that is also a very, very good thing for them. So it helps in the in getting the relays, basically. That's for sure. What do we have here? Driver Film says, how sick with my Radio Taiwan calendar. Where's the pirate flag? Yeah, I really have to put it up, hey guys. I really, really need to set it up. I forgot to set it up for the hangout because I really need to. For those that didn't see it, I've got the perfect gift at Christmas, and it's this very, very nice pirate flag that I'll be putting on the wall behind my radios. So that's for sure. In the next hangout, it's going to be there. It's going to be there Friday for the VHF UHF hangout. I promise you. I have to put it up. It's just I didn't have the time to do it, but I'll put it up. So you're watching a live show from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This is every 2 weeks on Saturdays at 2100 hours UTC. If you want to be notified of these shows because you enjoy it, official shortwaveradio@gmail.com. You send an email and you say, hey, I want to be added to the list so I know when you are on the air. We have more and more shows coming up. This coming Friday, brand new show, the radio scanner, VHF, UHF show, police scanner, call it what you want. We'll talk about everything 30 megahertz and up, scanner radios. That's why I took all my scanner radio out so that I can now talk about it. And of course, software-defined receivers also. And we are located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. It's nice to have everybody on board. We've been on now for almost an hour and a half. And it's really cool to answer all these questions. We have a nice chat room also. What else do we have here? Summer 90. Are you having a live hangout next Friday and Saturday, Joe? So next Friday is the VHF UHF hangout at 2100 hours UTC. And next Saturday, there's no hangout. If I do a hangout every Saturday evening, somebody in my life will kill me. So that's why it's only every 2 weeks on Saturday night. PLF Shell, is it harder to QSL a shortwave station broadcasting in the language you don't know? Yes and no. Yes, because you don't actually understand what they are saying, so giving details is a little difficult. Also, if the station doesn't have a English language department, for example, a South American or a Brazilian station, you just got to hope for that if you write in English, they'll understand a little bit what you want. The best bet, try to listen when there's something unusual, something you can report, music, stuff like that. It is a little more difficult, but I would say the QSLing a station in a different language, the added challenge that it gives you is actually interesting, and you'll be happy when you get that QSL, that's for sure. That's for sure. See, Richard Cookrick had one in French. So it depends on the stations, that's for sure. Jordan, a lot of mine are from catching stations in different languages, Japanese, Arabic. So, just do it. Hey, Richard, welcome to the Hangout. Can you give a brief step-by-step presentation to setting up the Soft 66, starting with the software? Yeah, well, actually, it's coming on the channel, Richard. If you look at my official SWL channel on YouTube, all of that in the next week, you're going to have pretty much, now you know where to download the software, how to add the driver. I showed today where to get, and how to set up HD SDR. Tomorrow or Monday, I'll post a video on setting up SDR Sharp. And the videos this week will be on tweaking the settings of SDR Sharp and HD SDR. So continue looking at the videos on my channel. PLF, Amazon rechargeable batteries. I didn't know that. Thanks for the info, Jill. Yeah, I was surprised also when I saw Amazon branded batteries. But they work really, really really well. Calvin says, yeah, I'd like that too, Richard. I've one on the way, so it would be a very useful video. Yep, look at the channel. They're all coming, and this week you'll know how to set it up and have it working and do whatever you want. That's for sure. Welcome, Freefall Man, to the hangout. Another shortwave guest. Yeah, Roger AB8MQ. Kenwoods are made in Japan. Jordan is glad of his Kenwood R1000, and it isn't made in China. Yeah, I think that Kenwoods even today are still made in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. That's why they're expensive, basically. Driver Film says Texan crappy radio R808. Every company has a crappy radio, I can tell you that. Picked up a Sangean ATS 909X while my Sony 2010 was sent to Kiwa. It performs well. Yeah, the 909X, the modern version of the original ATS 909, is not bad, but it seems to suffer the same problem. It's a little bit deaf, but on the long wire it works fine. You'll get pretty much everything, but it's a little bit deaf. It doesn't seem to be as sensitive. My DX398, which is a 909, is a little bit deaf also, for sure. Roger AB8MQ said he had a Kenwood R2000 and R5000. I had a R5000, really loved it, I can tell you that. Jerwendy says, try Flight Feeder on Google Apps. Very fun app. Locates airplanes and gives location on map and other info. That is cool, for sure. Commander Pleasure, Gilles, that story about your dad giving you the extra $50 for that DX radio as a kid was great besides radio and computers. Is there anything else that he got you into? It's complex. My dad worked long hours, so he wasn't really at home, pretty much never at home, except Sundays. And my dad is somebody that doesn't communicate well. He's a man he's a man of the time. The dad that just saying I love you would probably be like really hard. And actually, it fell on me because for a long time I was in the same position of being the guy that doesn't say I love you. It's crazy how when the way you're brought up. So my dad was pretty much never there, but he always had he had this curiosity about everything new in technology. And so we were the first ones on the block to have a VHS tape recorder. To give you an idea, I remember my dad paid $1,000 in 1983 for a VHS cassette tape recorder. Nobody had one in 1983 here. Nobody. I couldn't even find a friend or somebody that knew someone that had one. So it gives you an idea. My dad always wanted the new stuff. He always wanted that new technology. He came home with a VIC-20 computer, gave me what I am today, the tech guy. Came home with tabletop receivers. He's the first one that would I had a few shortwave radios through the 80s, like the Panasonic RF 2800, stuff like that. Why? Because he would go at flea markets and see this guy that sells one for $60, $70 and say, hey, I'm going to bring that home. And so I had a lot of these shortwave radios through the years because he always wanted to buy technology of everything. He would buy everything. I had model railroad track stuff. I remember the first set of um, man racing cars set. The first time in the 80s when they had these racing cars that could actually change track. I remember the first time you saw that, it's like, hey, that's going to be cool. The first set of racing cars that changed track. You know, that was my dad. My dad was like that. And basically, he would play or use something for a week or two, and he would get bored by it very, very fast. My dad liked the technology, but didn't have the patience to sit down and play with something. I had the patience to sit down and play with the stuff he left behind. So that's why I had all of those things. You can say in a way um, that part of my life of when I was young was amazing because I had all of these things that probably a lot of kids didn't have. And it brought me into the hobby, brought me into um, radio, computers, and all sorts of things. Brought me into doing this today. If I didn't have any computers in the 80s and no radios, probably I didn't know. I would still not know that shortwave exists. And would I be in computers? I'm not sure. I don't know. It's amazing what you do with your kids, how it changes your life. That's for sure. Um, that's for sure. I'm a little behind, guys. I'm coming to everybody as we're going down. But Darius says, I hope they keep making stuff in Japan. You know what? Yeah, for sure. But the problem is it's a high cost of labor and everything. And I think companies like Kenwood and ICOM, which is also a Japanese company, if they go and make Chinese, they make a Chinese plant for radios, they want to have a minimum of quality. They'll check that for sure. For sure. And Harry, that Japan makes all the best stuff reminds me of Back to the Future when Marty goes back in 1955 and Doc Brown has that little microchip from the DeLorean car and says, how could this piece of junk cause such a big problem? And he looks at it with his magnifying glass and says, oh, it's made in Japan. And Marty says, what do you mean? All the best stuff is made in Japan. Reminds me of that scene. Mute zone. My Texan PL660 works fine on shortwave with the Wellbrook. Very little overload. Goes to show how far Chinese technology is advanced. Would be good to see a Texan SDR. Well, Texan, you know what? I think Texan is one of the companies that has a minimum of quality control because most of what they do is pretty good. I can tell you that. What else do we have here? Freefall Man, welcome to the hangout. Newham here, interested in learning about antennas. Any suggestion on where to start antennas for home base? It depends on what you want to do. If you want to transmit, you need a good antenna, or you could put up a long wire antenna and have a antenna tuner or stuff like that. But it's part of the fun of just amateur radio antennas. What else we have here? I'm going to try to go a little faster. I'm getting behind in the chat room. It's getting really far behind. Mbot Jill, I believe the Palstar is made in America. That's possible. I'm not sure where it's made, actually. DPM is DX declawed. Yeah, in the front, in the DX is because my living room would be like some kind of war zone if he wasn't. But you know what? I didn't choose that. I really like that. Here in Canada, they don't want to declaw cats anymore. And I know some countries even outlaw it now because it's like something really Hey Dan, Zero On from New Brunswick. Well, we talked about a software-defined radio. There's going to be tons of videos on my channel also on setting up SDR and everything, and we'll talk a lot about SDRs in the coming days. And you know what? I had a lot of comments because people, when they heard I was going to talk about SDR, software-defined receivers, in the head of a lot of people, it's, you're going to talk about listening through the University of 20 or the U20 SDR. No, a SDR that you have in your home and that you can use in your home. By the way, another use of an SDR that I didn't mention is the fact that you can put it online. You can actually have the SDR on your computer and have it using, for example, the SDR console available on the web. And actually, Jordan and Stephen Cooper in the chat room both have their SDRs available. If you use the SDR console software and you look at the list of SDR, you'll see one that is in Arma or Amar. How do you pronounce that? It's that name and where you are, Jordan. I don't know how to pronounce it. And there's another one in South. Let me just check. I took note of it a few seconds ago. I'm going to go back in the chat and check it out. So here, let me just check. So we have, I'm trying to find the, a little earlier, we talked about it. So Stephen Cooper has one, which is in, can you tell me again, Stephen Cooper, where your SDR is? Because I forgot, and I'll mention it. And one is in, also the Jordan also has one on, if you go into the SDR console software, and I'll share that with everybody. Commander, pleasure living in Northeast Pennsylvania. Love watching Joe brandish his Unibo beers in front of everybody in those old videos. Man, I need to start again. At the first hangouts that I did, I always had a different beer. I have to start that again and have a different beer again. That's going to be interesting. MS5 says, and to think I could be watching a football playoff game, but no, I'm listening to Shortwave Talk. Would rather be listening. That's cool. Love La Fin du Monde. It is a great beer. Hey, Sander Jagger, welcome to the Hangout. Long time I haven't seen you on board. Fox from TO, hello, welcome. Kimberly says, I love 6 Meters, Joe. It's a band that requires the patience of a saint, but it's so much fun. How do you like 6 Meters? I love 6 Meters. You know what? On the New Year's Day, and also on January 2nd, there was opening of Sporadic E-Skip over North America, the eastern part of North America. And man, I heard 6 Meter from stations from Texas, Alabama, New Mexico. I heard also a Mexican CW station. It was amazing. I love that 6 Meter band at 50 megahertz. I can tell you that. Yep, Jesus. Jesus are also Japanese radios. DPM, do Amazon batteries compare to Duracell, which I like? Look, the thing is I like them. They seem to be good, but I haven't used them long enough. I've been having these batteries I've had only for 2 weeks now. So basically, I can't say or compare to anything else for the simple reason I haven't used them long enough to tell you, yeah, they're good. I can just tell you that for the first 2 weeks, they seem to be really nice holding the charge. They are amazing. I've been recharging on the radios that I've been using. I actually love them, and they're not expensive, and they're really nice. So it's really, really cool. Shortwave loop. Thanks for every perfect information here. I'm glad. See you next time. Take care. Have a nice evening. What else do we have? Is there any way to replay the online chat for us to review? Not that I know of, but there must be some way that's, because it's not archived anywhere. The chat room isn't archived. So basically, if you use you know what? The thing is, Buster Brown, is if you use a client, like I use XChat, HEX chat. Thing is when you're on a when you're on a chat room, well, you can go back and check. I can go far back and check all the chats that I had in the past if I want with this software, which is not available when you go to the website for chatting. So as Driver Film says, NBR, if you're using an IRC client, you can scroll back through the chat. That's the thing. Okay, Jill, I'm back. What did I miss? Well, you missed part of the SDR talk, but we're not finished. We're going to add a few stuff. There's SDR receivers online also you can use with web SDR. But I like the fact that you can own your own SDR receiver and actually listen to shortwave. That's for sure. Or VHF, UHF. Ranger 7. Postar is made in USA and Tennessee. Okay, didn't know that. Cool. At least somebody's still making some up there. P. Steckler, Tentec, made in the USA. I'm going to just look at it, but I thought Tentec was also Japanese. Tentec, where is Tentec receivers made? I'm going to check it out here. Thank you, Google. Where Tentec receivers are made. Receivers. So these are very nice. I'm just watching at the Tentec RX340 commercial monitor receiver for $4,450. Trying to find where they were made, but where's Tentec made? About Tentec. Okay. Well, one thing for sure, if you look at how to where you can actually contact Tentec, the only place that I see here is in Longmont, Colorado. So I don't know. Not a lot of. I don't know where Tentec is made, basically. So apparently from Ranger 7 says Tentec still made in the USA. Oh, that's cool. Possible. Happy New Year, VA2XMX Petro. Nice to have you on board. Fellow Montrealer. Nice to have you on board. Yes, Southport UK SDR. So on the SDR console list of remote servers, if you use the SDR console software, you have a list of servers. If you click on Southport UK SDR, you will have the Stephen Cooper SDR receiver that's online. And if you look to the it's AMARG, AMARGH receiver, it's Jordan that's on the chat room that has his own SDR online also. Mutezone says he uses the SDR console for remotely accessing his ELAD. I tried TeamViewer and Ham Radio Deluxe on my desktop receiver, but sound kept clipping. So SDR console works with Windows also. Dan001. So nice to have everybody. I'm going down the chat, looking at all the comments. Gonna check here. Well, pretty much WA5 CVI. Pretty much all SDR receivers, or not all, but majority of SDR receivers work on Mac. You just need the correct software, and that's it. So nice to have you on board. K5 BDL, Searville, Tennessee is where Tentec is made. Thank you for the info. That's interesting. It is expensive though. That's why. You see, when it's made in Japan, or in a country where everything is much more higher priced, it is more expensive. So let's just we're just gonna put something else in the background, because I'm hearing just background noise here. Let's say 11584 WRMI, probably Brother Stare, but well, it's rather weak, but it's Brother Stare. Okay, so what else do we have here? I'm getting almost now to the correct comments. Yeah, WA5 CVI is just that I'm really far behind in the chat, and I'm going through the questions. So, and by the time that I have to answer, I just stop there. So, K5 BDL. Okay, that's why I saw that. Just saw Tech10 was bought out last year, now in Longmont, Colorado. Yeah, that's what I saw on the website. Yep. Yeah, RKR is RKR Designs. Yep. Okay, in our part of I've seen everything. Hey, Andres, welcome to the Hangout. By the way, didn't see you there. Nice to have you on board. So we're talking about software-defined receivers. I've shown you a few examples. The Soft 66 that you can get for 35, 36 US dollars on eBay. You can have it in a little box for $40. If you don't want shortwave, you can get a little dongle like this, which is a software-defined radio. Believe it or not, this is a dongle made for digital broadcast television. And basically, somebody made a driver that changes its capabilities to include a VHF, UHF range. You can have one of those for $7, $8 US. It's amazing. And you know what? Once you get it, you just hook up a good antenna to this little thing. You put SDR Sharp, HD SDR, SDR console, whatever you want, and you get a radio on your computer, and that's really cool. There's also other ways to get some SDR receivers. You have online SDRs. And an example of that, if you go to websdr.org, websdr.org, you'll have a full list of online software-defined receivers that you can use. The first one, which is the U20 SDR, is amazing because it has shortwave capabilities that the others don't, and it has an amazing shortwave radio. I mean, I'm amazed every time I tune there how well and how good it is. You can, of course, use a software like SDR console and go through the list of SDR receivers, which is also nice. So it's really, really amazing to see that. You can tune. What's cool about that is you can tune through receivers that are at different parts of the world. You know, one of the cool things about tuning a radio on the internet, like the SDR receivers, is that, for example, say I've used it a lot. Say, for example, I want to hear KNLS from Alaska. I never hear that here in Montreal. It's a station that's inexistent. You know, I barely have a little peep of signal most of the time. But they broadcast to Asia. So basically, I go to a receiver that's in China, for example, in Hong Kong, and I tune there, and there I hear it. So the software-defined receivers online are cool for that, because you can listen to shortwave from another part of the world where you would not be able to listen to some local stations or stations that broadcast only to a specific area. So it's really cool to use that. Another website that has regular receivers but also software-defined radios is the globaltuners.com. On globaltuners.com, you'll have some receivers. Now, there's a mixed bag. Some of them are good old tabletop receivers. Some of them are web SDRs. So basically, you can tune around the world and see what you can hear. It's really cool for that. The U20 I like a lot, because what's nice about it is that it's in the middle of Europe. So basically, you want to listen to every broadcast that goes to Europe, even local broadcasts. It catches pretty much everything. It's an amazing place to go. I haven't. Okay, Peace Techler says, have you tried Dump 1090 with your SDR dongle? You can track planes in your web browser. I haven't tried that yet at all, but I will check it out and probably make a video, that's for sure. Stephen Cooper says, with a basic RTL SDR, you can try some shortwave using a modified driver. It's not great, but it does work for HF. And he's got a video that shows that. Yeah, it's not fantastic, because once you get out of the range, it really loses very, very fast its capabilities of reception. But it does work. YU1NKA has joined. Welcome to the Hangout. Nice to have you on board, for sure. And so you're watching the Shortwave Radio Hangout from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And it's nice to have everybody on board. We have Sparkzilla85 that says there's a pirate now on 6925. They haven't ID'd yet, so I don't know who it is. So if you're in North America, 6925 is a pirate, apparently. Let's check it out if I hear it on the SDR. I'll try the ICOM also. Let's see if I can hear it. Yeah, no traces of it here. I'm going to see if there's anything else. No traces of it here, but we have a pirate on 6925 kilohertz in North America if anyone wants to try it. Thank you for the info, and welcome to the Hangout, by the way. Nice to have you on board. Really, really cool. Yep, WA5 CVI. Okay, on eBay. So this is a WA5 CVI. This is a little dongle. This one is the EasyCap. What is it? EasyCap DVB-T FM DAB. If you go on eBay and you type RTL SDR dongle, you'll see similar things. This is barely bigger than a thumb drive. And basically, this was made for digital TV broadcasts that you can watch on your computer. Now, if you use the Zadig driver, it's a driver that you can have on the internet, and replace the driver that comes with this for Windows with that driver, this becomes a VHF, UHF software-defined radio. And you install SDR Sharp, and you can tune around from about 25 megahertz all the way to 1.5 gigahertz. It's a very wideband receiver. And if you tweak it a lot and put a good antenna into this input on the back, it's pretty amazing what you get with this. I am surprised what I can get with this. And you know what? On eBay, there are tons of them for less than 10 US dollars. Okay, less than 10 US dollars. You should really check that out on eBay. You'll have tons of them for less than 10 US dollars. And you know what? You'll get a great little receiver that you can play with. That's for sure. These are amazing. And for the price, you just have a lot of fun listening to the radio on your computer. So that's pretty much it, WA5 CVI. So just search RTL SDR dongle, and you'll see there's tons of them for less than 10 bucks. And just install the correct driver, and it's going to be fantastic. It'll have a nice wideband receiver. I got this one given by a friend of mine that bought another one, and he paid something like that, 10 bucks. Pretty amazing, I can tell you that. Very, very surprising. Richard Cookrick says nothing on 6925 on U20. Yeah, it's more in North America. So, well, there's another driver that Stephen Cooper mentioned. It pretty much stops at 25 megahertz. If you want to have this HF spectrum for not much more, what I'm using on this, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to show you guys a little better, because I'm going to try to, no, I can't with the antenna, but if I unplug it. Here I've got a module. This is a, I don't know if you guys can see it. Let's just, I'm going to bring the camera closer and try to show you guys. So here goes. Here goes the, okay, here. This is a Soft 66 software-defined radio. This little pack that you see, this electronic circuit board. This one is 35 US dollars. This is the same dongle. What you see on the top is the same dongle that I showed you, but stripped of the case. And on the bottom is a HF board, and that gives you, it's an up converter. It gives you the full spectrum. It gives you, let me just put this back here. Try to be back in normal. Here it goes, pretty much. There it goes. So that is a Soft 66 RTL. It's 35 US dollars, about 35, 36, 37 US dollars. You get it on eBay also. That one gives you from about 100 kilohertz in the long wave band all the way up to 1.7 gigahertz. So this one has pretty good shortwave capability, and that's what I was using here on the laptop. And it's a pretty amazing receiver. I can tell you, I'm very surprised at it. So if you want to put 35 bucks, Soft 66 RTL, pretty amazing. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. Well, that's the thing. If Calvin, if you want to just do VHF, UHF, you don't need any extra. This does VHF, UHF, wideband, no extras. You just put the special driver, install SDR Sharp software, you're good to go, and you'll listen to the VHF, UHF spectrum. Now, if you want to have HF, you're better with a Soft 66, which is the next best thing for very cheap, 35 to 40 US dollars. And that will have an up converter for the HF portion of the band. Calvin, I never did remove the case. I bought the one without a case. I have a case. I bought a case, a metal case, and I put it inside. But you know what? I'm an electronics lover, and I like to see the electronics when I use it. It was for a little part in a metal box, but finally I removed it from the box. That's all. And Richard says 6925 kilohertz AM just ID'd as UNI8 or UNIB, sorry. Okay, UNIB. No problem, WA5 CVI. It's nice, and I can tell you, if you get the Soft 66 RTL, you'll be amazed, and it's a fun little thing to play with on the computer. But it requires tweaking. The software, you need to tweak and understand how to set it right. There's an RF gain on it also that you can tweak with. You don't push it to the max. I leave it at about 60%. If you put it too high, it's going to overload. But once you set it just right, I'm pretty amazed at that little $40 thing, I can tell you that. PLF, the Soft 66, from what my experience, on long wave, it's not fantastic. On medium wave, it is pretty okay. You know, it's not the most sensitive thing I've seen, but the Soft 66 on medium wave, at night I get the US stations. You know, I'll get New York, Boston, all of that pretty easily. Medium wave isn't too bad, but it's not as good on long wave and medium wave that it is on shortwave. That's for sure. It's like at the really, you know, the end of the spectrum where it works well, basically. Ranger 7, Jill, with the Soft 66, would you rather adjust the RF gain on the board or more in the software? What I do is I set the RF gain on the board at about 60-65%. And at that level, you can set the RF gain of the software to your liking. So at that level, if you jack the RF gain of the software to the max, it's going to overload. So it's like kind of a perfect setting where sometimes you can jack up the RF gain on the software a little bit. And when you get overloading or you get like these ghost images of other broadcasts, you know that you can just go down on the software. I rather do it on the software and have the one set up and never touch it again. I'm like about 65%, maybe 70%. And you know what? Once you find that little spot, you never touch it again. I never touch it. Never touch the one on the receiver. I always play with the one in software afterwards. And on some frequency ranges, you can jack it up real high. Other frequency ranges, you just, you know, have to find the correct setting. But at least you find it and you play with it in the software instead. That's what I like. Hello, HF in Canada. Nice to have you on board. You were here yesterday for the Tuning Domains Hangout. So nice to have you on board. So Calvin, yeah, I took your advice and have that on the way. Was just wondering about the other ones. I thought you might taken it off because if heat or something maybe. Well, you know what? One thing for sure, that little Soft 66 really comes hot. And that was one of my concerns. And when I say hot, I mean if you touch with your finger the top transistor or chip on the top, you're gonna burn your finger. It's really damn hot. But you know what? I haven't had any issues with it. And when I had the DX Patrol one, it was as hot. It seems that these run really hot. The only thing that I thought might be interesting is if you put it in a metal casing, maybe have the circuit board touch the metal casing to have some kind of, you know, use the metal casing as a heat radiator, as a heat sink, basically, to make the heat go away. But no, I bought the one with no casing because I just wanted to see the circuit board. I'm like that. You know what? I like electronics. If I had the choice to buy an Icon receiver that had, you know, like a transparent case that you can see all the circuits inside, I would have chosen the transparent case because I always want to see what's inside. The last computer I had, the desktop computer I had, they had this casing that was transparent and I could see everything inside the computer. I bought that because I wanted to see, you know. I'm that kind of guy. Kevin says, I might take mine out of that case when it comes. Well, you know, I like it without a case. I just find it cute like that. Ranger 7, RTL SDR blog SDR says stays cool, but it is only 24 megahertz through 1800 megahertz. Yeah. Well, this one stays pretty cool. By the way, I almost forgot, but on the chat room, if you're using a chat client, on the chat room here, there is a SDR chat room, and we're going to try to have people, you know, more and more in that SDR chat room, so that maybe when we want to talk about SDR receivers, will go into the SDR chat room, by the way, which is different from this one, which is the shortwave room. So that could be interesting also. Why you want NKA? Did anyone try seeing the dependence between the temperature of RTLs, SDR, and sensitivity or PPM drift in practice? In practice, sensitivity, I don't see a difference. In practice, I can tell you that I have to tweak the software because in the first, I'd say in the first 30 minutes, you turn on a soft 66 RTL. It drifts from 10 to 20 hertz. So if you tune, for example, lower upper sideband signals, you have to readjust a little bit because after about 30 minutes, you'll be as much as 20 hertz off when you tune. And it does have this little flaw, which is, for $35 and for the use I have, it isn't a really big flaw. It's just okay like that. So, hey, P. Steckler says a Raspberry Pi has transparent cases. Yeah, that's what I'd like. I want to have a Raspberry Pi with no, just a transparent case for sure. Yeah, Drago, it's normal for the Soft 66. I know. It does come hot. It is the way it works. I know that. So, the name of the SDR chat room, Ranger 7, is SDR. It's simply hashtag SDR. And that's it from what I know. So if you're in the, if you want to join and you're in a IRC client, like STE says, you just type /join space hashtag SDR, and you're going to join the SDR part of the chat room. Calvin says, I just got a Raspberry Pi Zero with a clear case too. Pretty cool device for its size, that's for sure. Calvin says, would microfans be helpful at all to cool it or something on a thermostat switch? The only thing I would see that would really be probably very useful is a little bit of compound. And I thought, I don't have the metal case here, but what I thought doing is put a little bit of compound like they put on the CPUs in computers for the heat dissipation, and have the circuit board and the compound touch the metal box of the casing so that the heat dissipates as much as possible through the casing of the die bot. That's pretty much what I would do. So yeah, the thermal compound, like Ranger 7 says, just use that. I would use that probably more than anything else to I don't think I would use a fan. You know what, it comes hot, but from what I've seen, it seems to work well, and I haven't seen anybody complain that it actually breaks down or anything because of that. So Harma, ARMAGH is Harma. I don't know. Harmag. I don't know. Harmag. I don't know how you pronounce that city, but that's the where the SDR for Jordan is. So yeah, Ranger, stick a massive heat sink on it. Yeah, I could see that. The little SDR big like this with the big heat sink on it. But if you put it in a box, put it in a metal box, put a little thermal compound, make it touch the metal box, making sure it doesn't short anything. And the metal box itself will be a heat sink, so it's going to cool off more. I think that will work. So Armand. Is how to exactly say it properly. Armand. These cities that always have to check how to pronounce anything. A lot of them. So you guys are watching. I'm just gonna check through the email, through the Q&A. If anybody's there, that's cool. Back in the chat. We have a sustained spectator watch tonight, which is pretty cool. Nice to have everybody. Yes, that's it, Harma. So he's in Harma. And so if you guys want to just, if you guys just want to, listen to Jordan's software-defined radio, just go to Harma in the console as this SDR console list, and Harma is ARMAGH, and you'll be able to tune the Jordan's SDR, which is pretty cool. Harma. Muzon says, for next hangout, I will try to make my ELAT publicly available so everyone can hear what I get in my location for the UK. Includes medium wave, VHF, airband, regional comms, and utilities. That would be cool, Muzon. I'll try to set up my Soft 66 also, and have a online SDR from Montreal. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I'd be the only SDR and the only receiver anybody can tune from Montreal, Canada. That would be nice. Calvin says, I think there will be a lot of SDRs going up online now after the SDR bids, Jill. I'd like to get mine online like Jordan's setup. That's cool. Yeah, I'll try to I'll try to put mine online too. I think having a receiver from I always wanted to put my ICOM online. That also I'd like to have on the on Global Tuners eventually. But I'm not set up right for that, because when I actually control, I have Windows 10 on this computer. When I actually control the ICOM with Windows 10, it crashes all the time, so I can't do that for now. David in Barcelona, welcome to the Hangout. Been watching for some time. Cool Hangout. My RTL SDR setup involves using a USB hub in which he plugged a dongle with the Rafael R820T tuner, and also CT1 FFU's V4.0 up converter. Works great. Something great about CT1's FFU's up converter is that it has an internal bypass for VUHF signals via relay when it's unpowered. Oh, that's cool. Another thing that also, by the way, you're reminding me, David, is that, when you're on SDRs, if you have one of the cheap ones like this, you can get up converters that actually will give you shortwave through this, like Amit Up, and it's pretty much a little bit like the setup here of David in Barcelona. And what happens is you actually add the up converter through the antenna here, and it has a switch. I know the Hamid Up, for example, has a switch. So you don't have to play with antennas or anything. You just switch from VHF, UHF, or HF listening if you want to, which is nice also. So you can use like a Hamid Up stuff on this. So if somebody that already has a dongle like this could buy something like a Hamid Up, and that up converter would give shortwave capabilities to the dongle by sending an up converter frequency in the software also. So these are things that everybody could do, basically. Jordan says Patrick Moore lived around the corner from him. So are the separate up converters expensive? Well, like Hamid Up is about $60. But it does seem, because when I look at Hamid Up circuit board, it does seem better than a Soft 66 one. So Hamid Up does seem a lot better than a Soft 66, because just the up converter board is $60, $70. and much more expensive. So it might be better actually. Up converters. It's up converter, AUP, up converter that we have in general. Okay, so just checking out here who's on. HF in Canada, Jill, I'm coming to Montreal in spring. I want to meet for a coffee and get your autograph. Thanks for all you do for us. No problem, I'll be happy. We'll have a coffee somewhere or maybe a lunch and talk about radio. I'll be happy. It's the first time somebody asked me for my autograph. I'm starting to feel important now. Actually, anybody, any guy, any girl out there watching comes to Montreal, let me know through email, whatever, and we'll meet up somewhere and, talk about radio and anything else. I'll even show you around Montreal, the places where nobody, the places, that's interesting. My SDR isn't even plugged in and it crashes. It seems that my computer is crashing now. That's interesting. So, yeah, no problem. That's for sure. I'll be happy to meet anyone that comes to Montreal for sure. I'd like that. Y1 NKA says, don't forget that Ham It Up has option for noise source. Great for filter characterization. That's true. It's a much more complete SDR board. It has a lot of options. So the Ham It Up is probably a little better and more quality, that's for sure, than the Soft 66. AVA2XMX Petro says, count me in on that coffee. Hey, anytime, Petro, you want to meet, you're in Montreal, so it's not that complicated for us. You just meet somewhere, maybe even bring a portable receiver together, see what we can pick up. That would be cool, actually. What else do we have here? Yeah, computer crashed again. Cook Rick. But this time, nothing's plugged. It just crashed. So it seems that it just crashes all the time. I haven't noticed. I actually, you know what? I use the SDR on this and it doesn't crash, but it's been on all day today, and it's the first time I see that it crashes all the time. So really weird. HM Canada, go for dinner. All of us with Jill would be so cool. Man, yeah, we'd have to reserve in a restaurant to have all the people together. That would be cool. A shortwave hangout dinner somehow. Unfortunately, we have to invent teleportation. We have to be able to go from one place to the other instantly for cheap. That would be cool. We could all meet, basically. VA2XMS says, when I get my HF antenna back up, I can transmit during the hangout and see who can pick me up on the shortwave receivers. I'd love to try that. Yeah, that would be cool. Calvin says, in the karaoke bar after. Yeah, I'd bring you all to the karaoke bar where I go, and you guys could hear me sing. That is nice. Via email, we have Vernon, and he's in Texas. Vernon says, very interesting hangout. I'm the shy type. I haven't written to you, but I do watch pretty much all of your hangouts. I have a question. I would really like to have a Soft 66 like you just showed, that little circuit board. And I'm afraid that I'm not super technological. So will it be hard for me to set up, considering that the only thing I usually do is just install programs on my computer that I use every day, but not much more than that. Thanks for everything you do. It's really amazing to have these shows, and I'm always interested. And by the way, I have a Drake R8B receiver and have had it for many years. Still listen from time to time. And thanks to your videos and hangouts, I've decided, and I've actually started to listen to shortwave much more often. So thanks for everything you do. It's really cool. Well, thank you, Vernon. Nice to have you. You know what? If you are able to install a piece of software in Windows, you are able to use a Soft 66. It's not that complicated. And actually, if you are watching my videos, order a Soft 66 and you'll have all the details on the videos that I'm posting this week on how to make it work. You're going to see it's not complicated to set up, and you'll have a lot of fun with it. And I'll give you all the inside details of how to tweak the hardware, tweak the software, and have it working. So don't worry, it ain't that complicated. You know, there's a lot of things that look complicated on the surface when you look at it, but isn't that complicated to use, basically. That's for sure. Yep, Newelec also. Newelec, Nooelec, has up converters for SDR dongles also. That's also another company you can buy an up converter for HF if you want. HF Canada says VA2 XMX. I'd love to do it. Well, we all can give you reports. Yeah, for sure. When it gets on the air, that'd be cool. David says it would be really cool to DX you from the other side of the pond. So, you know, a lot of people would like to listen to you, VA2 XMX. Set up something so that everybody could really contact you. Everybody seems to want to contact you. Andra says, I take the Soft 66 everywhere when traveling and use it with my tablet. Works fine. I've used it in the expedition in Perry Island with my little Windows tablet here. This is a very, very, you know, low-grade tablet. This thing costs $100, and it has Windows 10. And I've been able to use very easily my Soft 66 while out at Perry Island, the expedition. And it works fine. And this is not very powerful, and it just works really great. It's pretty amazing, actually. So it's, you know, you can have a very very small setup that you bring your SDR receiver with you, portable, anywhere you go. And it's really cool for that. I've done it a lot. Sunbird, how do you get an SDR here in Canada? Well, two things. You can go on Amazon. Amazon has some for very cheap. Amazon Canada, so amazon.ca. Or you can go on eBay. It's easier through Amazon, obviously, but you can also go on eBay, and that's for sure. So, sorry. Yep. Like Stephen Cooper says, anyone that comes to the SDR chat room, I'm sure someone there can help with any problems. Yep, that's for sure. And, you know, let's have things separate. We could, of course, basically have, whoops, I just moved the camera. Let's just see if everything is all right. Here it goes. The SDR chat room will be really for SDR talk. We'll keep the chat room for shortwave stuff. And that could be very interesting. And a lot of people can help for sure. VA2XMX, Petro, sounds like a plan. I'll let you know, Jill, ahead of time. No problem. Well, nice to see you. MCLA Drifter, welcome to the Hangout. HF in Canada, Jill, have you ever thought to ask donations from us? Just saying. A little bit from all of us goes a long way, PayPal, etc. Yep, and it's actually coming very, very soon. I've set up almost everything I need in my Patreon account. And I'm sorry, but I'll be annoying you guys. No, I will not be annoying, but I'll be having a little bit every time I do a live show on a Patreon account where I will ask if anyone wants to give donations. Now, don't be scared, anyone. I will not cut off anyone that doesn't give anything. I will not make things or videos that only people that pay will view. I don't like that type of, you know, doing stuff. I am a firm believer that, you know, just free stuff that everybody can view, everybody can see is the good way to go. But I will add a little side of, you know, Patreon and maybe PayPal, I don't know, where I will ask, not for a long time, just a little bit here and there on the live hangouts. I will just ask for, if you want to give donations and stuff to just help out and make sure that basically these hangouts continue and everything. I do devote a lot of time to making these hangouts, making the videos and everything. So I think maybe just for the hang of it, have a little side where if anyone wants to give anything, and it doesn't matter the amount, it doesn't matter what you give or don't. It's just a little something more. But starting in next week or so, pretty much everything is set up for starting. The only thing that I'm waiting for is a little approval, because there are some rules, general rules, that I'm not sure about with YouTube stuff and asking for money, if it's compatible. But I'm coming to a little something, and in 2016 I will ask for donations. That's for sure, because not only because of what I do, but I want to expand what I do. I want to do shows almost every day. I want to expand with a lot more stuff that could be interesting to all of you out there. So anyways, that's coming up, and we'll see it in due time, that's for sure. It does cost a lot of money to do stuff. I won't lie, I do get money off of YouTube with all that I do. That's for sure, with the monetization from AdSense. But I'd like to have more, and I was thinking of maybe doing a little something where if I get donations, for example, maybe if I get enough every here and then, maybe do some kind of drawing, and maybe if I get enough, we could do something like I would have a contest of some sort where everybody can win a shortwave radio or whatever. These are all things that I'm thinking about, and that would be cool, I think. So anyways, it's coming eventually, that's for sure. That's for sure. Rooftopper, can SDR work with Android tablets? Yes, with something called SDR Touch. The only thing is that SDR Touch, you might need to root your Android tablet. So you will need a little bit of technology or knowledge with your Android device. Andros, Windows 10 tablets works with the same as a desktop. Yeah, pretty much. It's just touch. For the rest, it works exactly like a desktop computer. It's just that it has a touch screen. And you can, I've got a little adapter here that I plug here, and I can actually have 2 or 3 USB ports with the tablet. So basically, works the same way. And it's not expensive. A $100 tablet has your SDR working, basically. So for sure. And as Stephen Cooper's mentioning here, SDR Touch is good. Is good though, allows recording USB AM FM as RDS for FM, lets you choose bandwidth and so on. So it looks interesting. Windows 10, by the way, for those that have Windows 10, software-defined radios work fantastically well. The driver works well, and SDR Sharp, HD SDR, SDR Console, all work in Windows 10 very, very well, by the way. Mute Zone says, what about a fundraiser for your radio program idea? Is it still on? Yep, I'm still thinking of getting on the air via WBCQ, or actually the reason I'm not on WBCQ, I have a kind of crazier idea. It's more expensive, but I want to be on WRMI, and I've already contacted them, and it's more expensive to be on WRMI on a premium frequency. But I would like to have something on WRMI on a premium frequency with a good power that really goes through, and that could be interesting for sure, for sure. And I'd be through WRMI and have maybe something like a weekly show. That's also something, by the way. If you guys, if we ever have, well, when I have the donations and everything, depending on what I get, part of it will be used um, to have a show on the air from I want WRMI, depending on the amount and depending on what I can get. Could be WBCQ also, but I'd like to be on the air, and I would do something like a 1 or 2 hour show every week that would be dedicated to radio and would air one or maybe several times, maybe once, like say a Saturday evening, and a repeat once or twice on other frequencies and different times via WRMI. That could be interesting. I know that the WRMI guys are very, very, they're kind of excited. When I ask them and everything, they seem to find it interesting. But the difference between WBCQ and WRMI is commitment. WRMI is searching for some commitment, not just random programs on the air. And I just need the financial possibility to just say, yeah, you know what, I'll be there for a year, and you can count on me. I won't, I won't be a Global 24. If I do something, I do it all the way. That's for sure. That's for sure. Calvin says you can send out calendars with DX the cat in them. Yeah, you guys would love that. Okay. Stephen Cooper says newer Android tablets, you don't need to root. I think Android 4.3 or above, no root is needed. Cool. So that's interesting. Okay. Okay. Calvin, what do you do for an antenna with SDR touch for like a portable setup? Could you make up a whip like on the Texan to work with it? What I did, Calvin, you know what? The Soft 66 has an SMA connector. I bought a SMA connector and cable. About 10 feet of cable comes with it, and it's shielded. Plug it in, and at the tip, what I do is I go somewhere there's no noise, like Perry Island, the Expedition, and at the tip, I put the wire that I throw in the tree, and that's what I use. And it makes it's like putting a wire antenna into a portable receiver, basically clipping it on, basically, or inserting it in the connector for the antenna, and it works fantastically well. And it's very, very portable. Drago says, Brother Gilles. Brother Gilles, only. Brother Gilles, we'll talk about shortwave. That's for sure. Yeah, I am really, really looking at that for WRMI. Okay, it costs more money, but that's where I am at, basically. That's for sure. Global Gilles 24. You are we're listening to the Gilles 24 network, brought to you by. That could be interesting. So, but that's going to be a lot of things, and one thing that I want is that the money that I would get with donations will serve for expanding everything I do. Will not serve for personal gain or anything. What I want is mostly to expand the offer I have to you guys. Add maybe like the shortwave broadcasts. Add maybe new shows about radio or something connected in some way. That's for sure. I'm planning on building something big with what I do. I started simple. It's getting a little more complex now with time. Getting new shows. With the shows I'm doing, I'm getting to 4 shows a week right now. 2 about computers, 2 about radios. So that's getting interesting here. What we're doing, and I want to add more. That's for sure. And with donations, Not just here, donations I'll ask on the Windows side or on the computer side also. All of that together, I think we can make something really, really cool that everybody will enjoy watching also. That's for sure. Bobby says you can always go on as a guest, like on Survival Financial America or something. I'll go on a show. What's the show where these guys get there and have a project, and they ask for money on their business or whatever? I'll ask for money on starting podcasts on YouTube for all sorts of things. Brother Gilles Stare. You know what, Ranger 7? It would probably be more like last night, Brother Gilles fell down the stairs because he had too much beer while he was doing his show. DX the Prophet. Oh, yeah. DX the Prophet. I like that. Praise DX the cat. DX the cat has said that you've been naughty this week, so you will not receive your QSL. Oh, man. By the way, since CRI was mentioned, did you notice that they started transmitting with 20 kilohertz bandwidth sometimes? I wonder how do you receive that with SDR? Well, on the SDR, you can see that it's this large when everybody else is this large. They haven't started doing it recently. They've been doing it for a long time. And I can tell you one thing, it is damn annoying on some frequencies because I've listened to stations where CRI just washed out a transmission I was listening to because it's just too wide. And I can tell you I'm a little, kind of a little sad. They should, just transmit like everybody else. I think that would be better. Angry Jill saying that God is mad at us. Yeah, play the Powerball. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. In the US, that Powerball jackpot was like 900 million when I looked this afternoon. Man, 900 million. You know what? If I would win 900 million, I'd ask everybody in the chat room their personal address, and I would all send you your favorite receiver. Just say whatever radio you want, and I would send you all that radio just because I won the $900 million at the Powerball. That would be cool. But I don't play lottery, by the way. I don't believe in that. Maybe I should. I don't know. Yeah, but the problem here at STE is that it's really annoying because CRI uses so much bandwidth. It's not just the fact that the radio you can put narrow or wide, but it's the fact that CRI using so large on the shortwave spectrum blocks out the stations that are next to it. And it's like intentional. They want to be the one heard, and it does get annoying a little bit. David says, I can only open my filter so much and my RTL SDR. It sounds awesome. The only thing preventing CRI 20 kHz from being comparable to any other Hi-Fi audio source is that they don't transmit in Sequam stereo like Pirate Station XFM. Pity that being 20 kHz wide means that it hogs up the band as well. Yeah, I had a perfect example. About a month ago, I tried to listen to radio Voice of Indonesia 9525, and it was coming in through the U20 receiver real well. Suddenly, it was coming up for English, and I wanted to make a video. And 2 minutes before, CRI popped up on 9530. Forget it, was impossible to hear. And it's sad because Indonesia would have been easily heard if it wasn't for the CRI very wide signal there. That's for sure. That's for sure. I don't want the Texan 680 for sure. I can tell you, HF in Canada, if I would win 900 million, you better ask something more expensive than a Texan 680. I mean a real radio. Not that it's not a real radio, but when you got 900 million, you want a real big radio. So you better have something more expensive in mind. Lotto in the UK was 53 million. Yeah, here in Canada, in Quebec, I think the highest jackpot was like 60, 60 or 70 million, something like that. I don't think it was much more than that. VA3 BNS, love that TRC32, 432 behind you. Saw some classic. Yeah, that TRC 432 is my good old CB radio, 40 channel CB radio. Still works very, very well. And it's about 32 years old, 31, 32 years old. Love it. Still works very, very well, by the way. Oh, even better, Ranger 7. I'm buying everyone an ICR 9500, that $14,000 ICOM. That's going to be better. That's for sure. Yeah, Calvin, the thing is that when the broadcast is so large, no filters in the radio can help with that, because it's the broadcast that just erases everything and makes everything gone. That's for sure. Oh yeah, that's true. My TKBC is going to be on in 15 minutes, and they're on the new frequency of 6040. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's 6040 kilohertz. And it's normal. You know what? My TKBC doesn't make it to North America in the past few weeks. It seems that the maximum usable frequency between Europe and Canada and in North America has been really low this winter. And even Radio Romania, that is usually a good signal from Europe, doesn't make it very well here. It's amazing. This winter, evenings are really boring on the radio. I can tell you that for sure. So, what else do we have here? V3BNS says, I can't find an AM filter for my Yaesu FT840. So AM sounds really bad on 40 meter. Any idea where I could find one? Did you look on eBay? I think for that type of thing, eBay would be the best place to check. For any filters, for any radios, I would go on eBay and check it out. I'm sure somebody out there has one. For sure. YU1NKA says, lol, let's ask for some professional Rode and Schwartz communications receivers. VA3 BNS, I run the TRC 465, aka Uniden PC122. Nice. Nice. HF Canada, question. Can you use a TV splitter 3 megahertz, 2 gigahertz to bring in all your antennas to that, and then one antenna to your radio? You can use one thing. You can use splitters if they're rated at the frequencies that you are using. But one thing that you need to know is that every time you use splitters, you lose a little bit of the signal. Every time you use a splitter, every time you add a splitter, it does interfere slightly with the signals. But try it out. I would guess it would still work. So that's for sure. Calvin says, I heard them during the week here. No, actually, YU1NK 6095 is the frequency they use for Europe transmitter. So when they're in Europe, broadcasting over for Europe on 6095. But for North America, if I'm not mistaken, the new frequency is 6040. And I'm pretty sure about it. And of course, we'll see in 12 minutes if I'm right or not. I'll even put this one on 6040 and leave it there. And I'll let you guys know if I can hear it as it pops up in the background. But I think it's on 6040. They left the 7395 kilohertz frequency because it wasn't propagating well. What else do we have here? Yeah, you could have technically a splitter that has antenna in and a few outputs to a few different scanners or radios. That would work. The thing you could buy, which would be better, is like a antenna switcher, where you would actually have the input and you just switch on the antenna to the different receiver that you have. I guess that would probably be better. Usually have so many radios. How many external antennas do I have? Two. I've got a 100 feet wire north-south position for shortwave, and I've got the a mobile vertical antenna on the metal shed. And the reason is the ICOM alone needs two antennas, because you cannot have an antenna that is for all frequencies. So I've got one separate for VHF, UHF, and one for HF. So I've got two outdoor antennas. And lying here on the ground right next to me is a 102-inch CB antenna that I would like to put up and hook up to this TRC 432 just for the fun of it. Even though there's just like nobody else on the bands right now. That's for sure. That's for sure. Oh, nothing on eBay, VA3 BNS. Wow. If that doesn't pop up on eBay, that means it's hard to get. I can tell you that. Anyone in Canada where I could buy a BTEC UV5001? I checked for eBay once again. That's for sure. VA3 BNS, my first time here in live video and chat. Just thought I would let you know your introduction videos to the different handbands really helped me learn and pass my exam. Thank you so much for all your awesome videos. You know what? That's the funny and cool thing at the same time. The number of people that are amateur radio operators or have become amateur radio operators that looked at my different introduction to the different amateur bands. Pretty much everybody found it real cool, and I think it is nice. For one thing, it's just, you know, having kind of a quick introduction of what each band's, the propagation, and the different signals you hear. You know, I like doing them, and it's fun to know that amateur radio operators actually enjoy also watching them. So it's really, really cool. So Carl, what do we have here? Yeah, 6040 kilohertz tonight, I'm pretty sure. And Jordan just said 6040 kilohertz tonight. So we'll see as if it comes in. Cook Rick 6040 is probably not up right now. I don't think they're up right now, for sure. HF in Canada says, I have a 1 kilowatt HF amplifier. It's big, heavy with the Russian vacuum tubes. Any advice on how I can sell it? I don't want people coming to my house, and it's hard to sell it if I meet someone and you can plug it in. Any advice? I know these are very big and clunky and heavy. I don't know. Best would be to, if you are able to go maybe to a Hamfest and bring in to the Hamfest with you. I know it's heavy. I know what you mean by big and heavy. These things are extremely big and heavy. And I know that they are pretty much difficult to transport from one place to the other. But I think that Hamfest will be the best place to sell a 1 kilowatt amplifier. That's for sure. That's the best thing, and I'm pretty sure if you're not too demanding, you'll have a buyer in a Hamfest for sure. It's just that you'll have to take it and bring it to the Hamfest, and I understand that it's probably the hardest part. But you know what? Once at the Hamfest, don't ask too much for it, and somebody will buy it, and you won't have the trouble to bring it back home. I think that's the best thing you can do, and it's going to be gone. So, hey, Ray in Nova Scotia, welcome to the hangout. Yeah, I'm sure you got AmFest real close, not too far from where you live every year. And I'm pretty sure that, what I would do with a big clunky 1 kilowatt amplifier that I'm not sure I don't want to bring back home. I'd start up with a little price, not too high. And if nobody wants to buy it, just give it away. Say, look, take it. Even the trouble of that guy taking it instead of you, it's already worth something. Just give it away. And you're not going to come back home with it. And somebody's going to be real happy to have a 1 kilowatt amplifier, I'm pretty sure. So, okay, you're in Dartmouth and now in Ottawa. Okay, cool. Cool. So you are all watching the live hangout. I think it's the first time I finished my beer before the hangout's over. Usually I already have a little bit left when the hangout, and now I drank all of it today. And I can tell you I feel the effects of 9% alcohol while I'm doing a hangout. So if I'm a little sluggish here, I'm going to start screaming like that preacher on 9330. Shortwave! Yeah. VHF in Canada says, I used to talk on CB with that. Oh, really? Oh ho. Oh ho. Probably make it far away though. 1 kilowatt probably made it pretty far. So you're watching the live Shortwave Hangout. We're located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And this is every 2 weeks, 2100 hours UTC. And if you are interested in scanner radios, or some call police scanners, VHF, UHF, amateur radio in the 2-meter band, 70-centimeter band, and so on, satellite receiving NOAA weather charts via VHF satellites, and so on, amateur radio satellites, anything that we can listen to in the spectrum from 30 megahertz and up. And there's a lot to listen to. Don't be discouraged. A lot of people say, oh yeah, there's full of encryption and there's a lot of stuff that's encrypted. Well, you know what? There's still a lot of stuff to listen to also. You just need to know what to listen to and where to listen. And so this is coming next Friday. Will be what? Next Friday will be the 15th of January. And we will have a 2100 hours UTC, a VHF, UHF hangout. I brought out my scanner radios here. And you know what? We'll have a lot of fun. And what the hell? You know, today we're talking about SDR. And I can tell you these SDRs also receive VHF, UHF. You can listen to these frequencies with even a $10 SDR. So why not? You know, you can join the fun for real cheap. You know, I sound like I was doing this and I'm telling myself I sound like these these, you know, channels where they sell pretty much everything. I can see like the background and saying, hey, you can listen to VHF, UHF. Order now and you'll get 2 for the price of 1. Just have to pay shipping. Oh, man. Yeah, Peace Tackler, c'est la fin du monde. Yes, c'est la fin du monde. I can tell you that. And so next Friday at 2100 hours UTC, we'll talk about scanner radios. And one thing I would like, actually, yeah, the shopping channel. That's what I was searching for, HF in Canada. The shopping channel. So basically, we'll talk about, you know, pretty much everything in the spectrum, 30 megahertz and up, baby monitors. Can we still listen to cordless phones? Yes, we can. And I'll give you a little scoop on that because I've been testing stuff here. And I've been using those in the past week because I want to brush up on listening. Also, we'll talk about, you know, the new scanner radios. We'll talk about trunking. We'll talk about encryption, what type of encryption you can actually decode or not. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun. It's one part of the hobby where, like shortwave, you know, there was a big peak Scanner radio was big in the 80s and early 90s, and then it just brushed off, you know. But there's a lot of stuff to listen to, and I think it's going to be fun. Kimberly K6YYL says, I love the Christmas lights you have up. I think some other cute lights like chili pepper light or something cheesy would be cool for lighting when you're done with the Christmas lights season. You know what? I'm thinking of some kind of lighting here. I want to put something up that has some kind of lighting. I always enjoyed lights. You know, for some reason, I always enjoyed having full of lights. So in this week, I'm going to take off the Christmas lights. But I'm thinking of what can I put here that would be cool and would light up the whole place. Because what I like about the Christmas lights right now is when I'm listening to the radio at night, I can turn off the lamp, I can turn off the lights, and just the soft glow of the Christmas lights is just cool when you're listening to the radio. So I'm looking at some kind of, you know, what could I put here that'd be cool in a string of lights that doesn't look like Christmas lights, and that could just give me a nice little glow around the shack. I think it would be cool. Mighty KBC 6040. It is about S9 plus 10. Coming in pretty well by actually 6040, the Mighty KBC. So anyone wants to listen to the Mighty KBC 6040? I think it's from Now in Germany, transmitter site, but it's coming really well. That's for sure. Mute Zone says receiving KBC 6040 with is Wellbrook indoors. Really cool. So what else do we have here? Oh, 6040 is really good. It is nice because 67395 they used before was really, really bad. So I'm looking anyways at something to replace the Christmas lights and have some kind of lighting, that's for sure. I always like that. Rooftopper says rope lights have green, have an interesting effect, easy to install. I use them above cabinets. Yeah, that's something I could try, of course. Yep. Jordan says plus 30 for Mighty KBC. YU1 NKA says no receiver 6040 and he's in Germany. Yeah, signal probably skips over you, basically. Carl says hello, Carl. 6040. It's good enough signal in Shropshire, UK. Vincent, no 6040 in Calgary. Oh, that's sad. Coming in quite well. I'm a pretty good signal here. It doesn't improve in Calgary. Might improve though. I'm looking at what time. It's pretty dark in Calgary at this time probably. So surprising that you don't have it. Calvin says LED strip lights. I don't know if they cause a lot of noise though. Yeah. Actually, there's a electronic store where I go get my wire and everything that I buy every time to make antennas. They have some interesting lighting that I did see a few weeks ago. One of them is LED strips, and they're powered by 12 volts. So basically, all I need is a 12-volt power supply. As long as I plug it into a 12-volt source that doesn't make noise, shouldn't add any noise to my listening. Take care, PLF. Was nice to have you on board, by the way. So yeah, that's what I saw, Calvin. These LED strips that I see, you could switch the different colors, and I did find that it was nice for that. So that's for sure. Yeah, Sunburn 90 retail store could still have leftover Christmas. The problem is I don't want to have something that looks like Christmas lights. Personally, I don't care. You know what? I'd have these lights all year long. I don't really care that they look Christmas for everyone. But, you know, for the hang of it, I just put something. I was thinking of putting a strip below here so that it lights the downside of it, and something on the top that would also light. Maybe putting even something on the top of the wall here where the pirate flag will be. I think it would be really cool. So just gonna check it out. Yeah, it depends on how they work, but from what I've seen, David, they they well, I don't know. I haven't actually brought a radio next to them and see if they're noisy. Today is just incredible because it's so complex to find anything that's not noisy on the radio bands. That's for sure. You know, I personally like incandescent lights like these. These are the old incandescent lights, and I like those because these are not noisy. These don't make noise. They just take the power and that's it. So have a strip of lights like that could be interesting. I'd like that. We'll see anyway. So I'm gonna add something, that's for sure. I'm totally redesigning and remaking everything here in the shack, so it's gonna be interesting for that. So my TKBC coming in well on 6040 kilohertz. So hey guys and girls, I'm going to say bye. We've been on for 3 hours and 5 minutes. I hope you enjoyed the show. I just want to say once again, we're every 2 weeks on Saturday evenings at 2100 hours UTC. That's 4 p.m. Eastern Time, North America. Next Friday is the next hangout, VHF, UHF. We're going to talk about everything that's to listen to on the VHF, UHF range, above 30 megahertz, scanner radios, and everything. And hope you enjoy the shows. And really, really, I enjoy making them for you. It's just fun moments. It's really cool to do those. I want to say, take care, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being such good people and making me feel that it's just so much fun to do. Every time I sign off like this, I don't want to sign off. It's like everybody is just so much fun. I'm having so much fun. I want to just do a 24 hours of it. But at some point, we have to, end it, unfortunately. Take care, everyone. Really love you. And see you Friday, January 15th, 2100 hours UTC. For those that like computers, Tuesday, 2000 hours UTC, 3 p.m. Eastern on my Windows channel. I also have questions and answer computer questions from technology questions from pretty much everybody. Take care. Have fun. See you in the next hangout. And always a pleasure to have everybody on board. Bye.